With the Buttkicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Buttkicker, the future is feeling.
Auto Club Speedway in Fontana, California holds the rare distinction of the location of the fastest speed ever set on a closed track. Today, we will emulate a little bit of that same magic as the classic Indycar series presented by the Buttkicker takes to this banked 2-mile oval in the MKT Manufacturing Indy 400. Welcome everyone to today's coverage here on RaceSpotTV. My name is DJ Clark, joined here in the commentary booth by Connery Maddock. And Connery, this Fontana circuit, well, it is known for high speeds, close racing, and positively electric racing, and I can't wait for this one to get started here today.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm exactly the same way there, DJ. Can't wait to get this one started. It's going to be a long one as well. 200 laps of racing action here at Auto Club. It's going to take a while. Potentially, if we have a couple of cautions, we're in it for the long haul. As a result, the race administrators have extended the maximum time that we have to run for 2.5 hours. Hopefully, we don't use all of it, but it's there just in case we need it. But we should see some fantastic action today.
Yeah, we certainly should. Let's go ahead and take a look over at what has been a fantastic season up to this point. We are on the penultimate oval here at Auto Club Speedway, the final one being the Indianapolis 500-mile race that'll be run on November 13th. The next two races, though, a little bit of road course racing as we head to the newly revamped Indy Road Circuit there in October, as well as Phillip Island, which is going to be a fantastic race to keep an eye on, but obviously ending the season out there with the Indianapolis 500-mile race, and very, very good stuff there for all of that. In these final four races, though, the real question is who can beat Joshua Chin? The Team Chimera driver there holding a 90-point lead over the rest of the field. Ethan Agan the closest there behind him. Henry Bennett holding on to third place right now, but a very close battle there between Cam Dance and Lucas LaVille. And remember, Cameron Cameron Dance had a fantastic run up through the field last time out in Detroit. Jamie Wilson back in 6th place. Robert Grosser only a single point ahead of Jan Hoffman. That is going to be a battle to keep an eye on here today, as well as Franz Josef Stum looking to move his way up through the field, and Sebastian Kinder trying to hold on to that top 10 position there as they run some close battles there. But really and truly, Connery, the story of this season has been Joshua Chin and his seeming dominance on the rest of the field.
Yep, absolutely. He does seem to be rather untouchable so far this season, and it doesn't look like that is really going to be a trend that is disrupted somewhat towards the very end here. We've only got, well, after this round at Alder Cup, we have only 3 rounds to go, and it's a very large gap for the likes of Ethan Hagen, Henry Bennett, etc. to try and surmount. So that's, we might be looking in the next couple of rounds whether or not Joshua Chain can mathematically win a couple of rounds early, and I don't think it's from that point just yet, but it's a conversation that we'll have a little bit later on. But yeah, absolutely, Joshua Chin has been unstoppable so far this season, and he has had blips here and there, but overall, especially factoring drop weeks and things like that, he's by head and shoulders above the rest.
Yeah, he certainly is, and it may take a little bit of race here, like at Fontana, to be able to throw a change into those championship makings, as this course, known for being a multi-groove course, you can make that low lane work, but it'll chew up your tires a little bit. Watch for the high lane being particularly quick around here today. I know in my experience driving Fontana, that has been one of the best lanes to take. But the other thing, of course, to take into consideration here, this isn't exactly the smoothest of ovals. It's a little bit bumpy out there, and that could catch some drivers off guard.
Yes, indeed it can. And, well, we've seen enough upset cars so far this season with solo car incidents. There might be a handful of those today, depending on how you hit the bumps here at Fontana. But hopefully, drivers, getting a decent amount of practice. They had 3 hours of practice earlier on in the session. They'll have a 10-minute warm-up here as well, just to get used to how the track conditions are working out right now. We'll delve into those a little bit later on. But we're just about ready get you at the starting grid for today's race.
Yes, we are, as the warm-up session officially ticks over there, and that will be able to bring us to running here today. In the starting grid, it's going to be Ethan Hagen lining up in pole position with Joshua Chin to his outside. Team Chimera making up position 2 and 3 there with Chin's teammate of Jamie Wilson in 3rd. Logan Simmons for Iconic Motorsports will be P4, followed by another Team Chimera driver there in the form of Andrew Wood. And then Jan Dirks will be the outside there of Row 3. Row 4 is going to be Andrew Adair Saunders, followed by Randy Shoemake and Mike Grady in P9. Robert Grosser from Vortex Sim Racing rounds out your top 10. Andrew Aitken starts off in 11th, followed by Hans Pitkinen, and then in 13th, it'll be Jan Hoffman, flanked by Franz Josef Stum. Joshua Tucker will line up in 15th, followed by Marshall Stanley in 16th. Sebastian Kinder will be 17th, with Tristan Hauser in 18th position. 19th will be Stefan Roseman, followed by Robert Barncanal. Cam Dance starting down the field here. Watch for the Orbit Motorsports driver number 88 to maybe move his way up through the order. Jonathan Diggs is going to be lining up 22nd, followed by Art McEwen, with Visa Yaleolela in 24th place. Tail end Charlie on the 24-car grid here today. And I've got to think here that for a lot of this 400-mile race, the strategy around this place is going to be keep it clean, keep it calm, and keep it together. This is indeed a long, long race out here, and you don't want to throw it all away in the early going.
You got to get a couple of green flag laps under your belt here just to set yourselves into that rhythm. It's a long, long race here today, and you don't want to have it end within the first couple of laps and all that practice going to waste. So it's going to be a, I'm hoping we'll see a little bit of a conservative race from these drivers, at least in the early goings. But for those drivers that might have qualified a little bit out of position, Cameron Dance further down the order, for example, maybe he'll want to press on a little bit sooner than the others. But with the exception of him, I expect a calm affair, at least at the front.
Well, we at least hope for a calm affair here at the front. That is what we can hold on to here as they go. As there we watch the number 20, Ethan Agan, leading the field here to green. Only one pace lap here, as this is a 2-mile oval, and that means the pace car will be pulling off down pit lane. Joshua Chin there to his outside, trying to hold things together. Chin again marching his way towards a championship as they bring their way out of turn 4 right now onto the curving straight that does make up the main straightaway on this D oval. There goes the pace car pulling off down into pit lane, and just as quick as you please, getting on the lap pedal is Ethan Agan. There goes the green. We are racing in Fontana, and it is a good start there for Ethan Agan. Joshua Chin a little bit gobbled up at the front. It looks like Jamie Wilson is going to get to his inside, but everything clean and green here for the front. Chin thinking about moving down to that low lane, but Logan Simmons going to beat him to it.
Yeah, Logan's sticking his nose up underneath there. We'll get rudder speed down the back straightaway here as well. He has the help of the draft of the Chimera car ahead as well, so Simmons gaining positions early on. Dick's falling in behind as well, and already, I can see on my timing screen, Cameron Dance attempting to make moves through the field already, but it seems like a clean first lap for the vast majority of the drivers. There's a definite split in the field already, though. The front 6 breaking away from the rest.
Yeah, Andrew Adair Saunders there losing about 0.8 of a second. He'll still get a little bit of a heaping of the draft, but he'll certainly want to be a little bit closer if he wants to try to make up a little bit of ground. We focus on Adair Saunders there. That's Mike Grandy trying to close in behind him. Andrew Aitken also involved in all of that as they work their way around here, completing lap 2 at Fontana. Agan continues to lead ahead of Jamie Wilson as they're a little bit of sizing up. It has to be said for Mike Grandy is looking up forward in the field. Andrew Woods maybe trying to throw a little bit of a move there on Ian Dirks. But up at the front, Ethan Agan also looking a little bit anxious. Maybe he wants to get his way up and try to lead this field for a little bit.
Yep, that's certainly an option. Of course, the draft's so potent here at All Club Speedway. We get this sort of pack racing quite often, although Wilson looking to the high side, trying to see if he can find any momentum around there. Simmons has to be a bit careful, though. Almost washed up directly into the rear left side of Jamie Wilson, but able to keep themselves all clean for now. Still side by side for the race lead. Simmons sort of on the outside looking in here, trying to see if he can capitalize on anything going on here at the very front of the field. Meanwhile, at the back of the train, we still have Andrew Wood and Jan Dirks deciding to, attempting to settle their differences.
Attempting to, and Jan Dirks coming through 1 and 2, taking it way up on the high lane there. The 87 of Jamie Wilson liking that high side as they try to work their way around. As I said before, that'll help carry some momentum. And if he wants to be a little bit aggressive here with Ethan Agan, although I don't anticipate that, we could see a little bit of pinching. Almost a little bit of a diamond formation here flying back behind Randy Shoemake, Mike Grandy, and Andrew Adair Saunders working their way around. We focus on the number 12 of Grandy working that high lane. Up here at the front of the field, though, it continues to be Jamie Wilson challenging Ethan Agan. Agan getting a little bit of a run down to the inside, but here comes maybe a little bit of 3 wide as Logan Simmons tired of waiting around. He's now going to come up to the high lane, pick up a little bit of the draft, and is he going to officially make this 3 wide for the lead? Yes, he is!
There we go, down into 1. Ethan Agan to the race lead. Here comes the up and under, though. From Jamie Wilson. He's going to have the speed coming off the corner here. I wonder what Logan Simmons is going to make of this. Is he going to try and shoot down the middle? Well, not quite close enough to be able to do that just yet. It's an interesting amount of fighting, given that we only have, 5.5 laps logged of 200 here. These guys trying to fight it out like it's the last lap, and, let's see how that works out for them. Wilson still leads across the line, and now Ethan Agan and Simmons are deciding that they want to get a bit of wheel-to-wheel action, but look at how high through the corner Ethan Agan goes, and, well, Chin is now underneath him.
Yeah, Chin underneath him here, and it certainly looks like Joshua just biding his time a little bit as they run. We anticipate the fuel stint here being probably about 39 to 41 laps. That's at least what we were told. Now, obviously, if you're sitting back here in Joshua Chin's position, you're going to be able to do a fair amount of lifting and coasting, and so that is certainly going to help you be able to save a little bit of fuel. And I think as these drivers work their way through, it just may be enough to try to eke that out out a couple of more laps, as even around a 2-mile circuit like this, coming in for a pit stop early and running into that danger zone and potentially pitting under yellow could come back to bite you, but we are too wide up for the lead there. Jamie Wilson, Logan Simmons, very much continuing to just duke this out. Ethan Agan a little bit more content to run in that high lane, just waiting back as these two fight.
Yeah, taking a little bit more of a measured approach. It's always a little concerning. Keeps you on your toes when you're in the middle of a pack like this that's fighting so hard. Two wide, sometimes 3 wide. But everyone keeping themselves in check for the moment. Logan Simmons, well, slightly ahead on the way down in towards turn 3. Let's see if he'll be able to disrupt Jamie Wilson's lead just that little bit more. So 2 Chimera cars that are trying to stick to the white line there, as Simmons and Agan decide they want to try and make some form of progress on this higher line. But, you know, it's mixed results for now. It's keeping them level rather than getting them ahead.
Yeah, a little bit of Noah's Ark there, entering down into turn 2. Wilson, Simmons, Agan, and Wood just continuing to run along there. You can see the gap starting to form a little bit behind. That gap between Chin and now Randy Shoemake, who leads the second train, is up to about 1.8 seconds. Joshua Chin and Andrew Wood looking like they're losing just a little bit of touch with this front group. I don't think that's going to be too concerning there for them, though, as they still will be able to get a nice heaping of the draft. And as we said, really wanting to keep things nice and easy. Going there, though, I've got to tell you, though, Andrew Wood looking awfully aggressive here. He was thinking about making that 3 wide.
Yeah, he was. And, well, he's got his, well, Wilson's got his teammate right up his jumper here at the moment. Agan and Wood still attempting, rather Agan and Simmons, excuse me, still attempting that outside. They've got no one else joining them for the moment. They got those 2 cars on the back of the pack as well, which really have the pick of the lanes to choose from here to try and get themselves a little bit closer, but still 2 by 2 on the way through here on lap number 12 of 200. And it's worth noting that they have indeed been fighting in the pack behind them as well. This pack is about 2 seconds off of that leading grouping. It's currently led by Randy Shoemake and Mike Grandi, the 2 Aero X teammates here, trying to manage the pack behind them. But yeah, some definite separation in the field, as you can see on that big wide shot.
Yeah, definitely some big separation, and an important thing to keep in mind here for for viewers just tuning into an oval for the first time. This isn't racing like we necessarily see in NASCAR, where you can get that idea of a side draft, working your way forward. Really, the best way to try to work your way up through the field is by playing a little bit of leapfrog, and that is to let one driver get a nice big heaping of the draft, move their way on forward, and play back and forth with those positions. And so I'll be interested to see here if Shoemake and Grandy and maybe some of the other drivers here in this second pack, including Robert Grosser there, the Vortex Sim Racing driver, who is our featured driver for today. So we'll be keeping an eye on the number 6 throughout the course of the race. But if any of them start to play a little bit of that leapfrog to try to gain back in on that front pack.
Yeah, we'll have to see. It requires a bit of teamwork amongst drivers who are, well, not necessarily part of the same team to try and make that happen. It's, you know, they've got plenty of time to be able to get themselves in order. 2 seconds is not the most insurmountable of gaps. It's quite a wide one when you talk about an oval like this one, but certainly something that can be overcome with the laps that we have remaining, especially when you have to factor in the pit stops as well. But 14.5 green flag laps under our belt for the moment. No yellow flags, although I know how that is sometimes tempting things as a commentator. But going along quite well. The Americas still maintaining that low line through these corners, and well, differences in line, of course, are going to affect the tyres slightly differently in these cars. But I'm not expecting the race to be too tyre dependent here today. It's relatively cool in terms of track temperatures. Not the coolest, obviously, but not the scorching heights of 40 degrees Celsius that we have seen.
No, not at all. It is what I would actually categorize as a beautiful California day. About 65 degrees Fahrenheit, 18 degrees Celsius in the air. The track temperature at about 80 degrees Fahrenheit, 27 degrees Celsius. So that's going to be right about in that sort of Goldilocks zone that we like to talk about, where things are going to be just perfect for these drivers. And I've got to tell you, I actually had the experience of being able to see Indy cars racing on this circuit in the 3 years that they were back. And this is about the conditions that I was able to see him race in, and it produced a lot of the great side-by-side battles that we see just like this.
Yeah, and well, definite pack racing here at the very front. These guys have gone 2x2 for what feels like 10 laps at this point, and it seems no sign of letting up. Although Wilson does get himself a good run off of 4 there, still not able to quite get ahead in terms of overlap on Simmons on the outside there. So guys on the high line sticking with it here. Gap forming a little bit between the two on the bottom, where Simmons might even be tempted to slot down if he so chooses, but deciding to remain on that high side for now and continue with the plan of action that they seem to have. And it seems like Jan Dirks is starting to have a half a mind of joining him up there.
Yeah, he's certainly thinking about it, and now it's going to be Joshua Chin that runs up onto that high line just a little bit as they go in a perfect 2x2x2. Ants marching pretty much as they go. Falling back a little bit there is Logan Simmons around the outside, but he will start to gain that a little bit more. There you saw Ethan Agan carrying some very, very good speed up on the high lane. He was thinking about trying to push things along there a little bit more. Now the two-time team Chimera drivers continue to work their way down on the low side. That tire wear, pretty crucial here in the old school IndyCar. Something we're going to be talking about specifically on the ovals as they run. We normally don't come into that much tire wear on the road courses, but when you're running at these speeds here, Connery, it really is no surprise that you're going to be getting that tire wear. But look at Joshua Chin. He was almost up by the wall there.
Yeah, he was. That was a big wide up taken through. It kind of has disrupted this main pack, or rather this leading pack for the moment. Simmons losing a little bit of ground there on that outside, not level with Wilson like he was, but instead side by side with Andrew Wood down on the inside as well. And well, we'll see how this one works out. Of course, you know, we do get these slightly sketchy moments from time to time where if 1 meter either side, then potentially we might see a big accident here at the very front and our first yellow. But thankfully, it wasn't the case, and we can continue on with green flag racing. I have to sort out my words today. I'm stumbling a little bit, but here's the secondary pack led by the 2 Aero X teammates here. This one has been a bit more well behaved than they have been at the front.
Yeah, running in a little bit more of a single file order here, and I wonder if that is maybe thinking that they'll be able to move their way up and try to catch up. But up to this point, it looks like Shoemake still continues to run about 2 seconds behind, although they were able to make a little bit of ground there on that last couple of running. Whoa, big fan out there from that front group as that is going to be coming up the middle. We take a look on board here with Logan Simmons as he runs his way through the iconic motorsports driver. You can see what it is. Maybe a little bit of a thought about 3 wide. He's going to now run it up to the high side as Joshua Chin has been able to shuffle his way a little bit forward here in position. You hear that little bit of lifting there, Connery, just feathering the throttle, and that is going to help with that fuel consumption.
Andrew Adair Saunders seems to have had a little bit of a problem here. He's going to be filing towards the back of that secondary pack that we saw form. We'll have to see exactly what happened here with the number 47. Was it just getting out of shape? Was it contact with another car? Well, we'll have to see here in just a few moments' time. Through 1 and 2. Coming off the corner. Oh, got a little loose. Catches it though.
Yeah, very, very good catch. I've been there and done that. I can tell you, coming off of that corner, and that is some of the problem when you are driving down on the low line. We talked a little bit earlier about the ability to pinch if you are on the low line, if you're up on the high line, and that's exactly the kind of mistake you're hoping to elicit if you do pinch that driver and force them to go super, super low. But here it does look to be a little bit of a scary conundrum for some of these drivers as Chin, Wilson, and Wood, the three Team Chimera drivers, all running down on the low side. Chin, who now is up in front, he's really going to be able to take that optimal line through the corner now. You can see that big wide arc. That's going to help him a little bit with tire wear. He's not going to have to be holding that car down on the low line and rubbing off those right side tires.
Exactly. You just want to minimize the friction in terms of the tires, minimize the scrubbing, and taking the big wide arc in and taking the big wide arc off. It will certainly be helping that. And like you said, he doesn't have someone right beside him that's sort of blocking his entries and exits here. So he doesn't have to drive it as hard into the corners as these guys going side by side are doing. Slow car on the inside there. That might have been a bit of a surprise for these guys, but look at how Chin's stretching his legs now. This is quite impressive.
Yeah, it is. He's got that gap up to about 3.5 tenths of a second, and that may not sound like a whole heck of a lot, but when you're talking about oval racing here at speeds exceeding 215 miles an hour, that is light years ahead, as it were. And I think Jamie Wilson here may be playing a little bit of rear guard to try to defend for Chin and keep him behind as much as possible. That is, as they go through the corner, Wilson may be trying to see what he can do. Logan Simmons, who we focus on, a little bit of moment of indecision there for him as he tried to decide if he wanted to go high or low, working his way through. You've got to be careful about that running here in Fontana. You don't want to be making too many moves up and down the track. As you can see, the multiple lanes that are around here and the black stripes that run around it, that is sealer that merges the two lines of asphalt together, and they're quite bumpy. You can really get the car a little bit upset if you come across those two violently.
Indeed, and well, that might have been a contributor to the incident that we saw, rather the moment that we saw with Andrew Saunders a little bit earlier on. Didn't quite get to see the best of view of it on that low line, but certainly those little transitions, shall we say, upset these cars. But still green after 28.5 laps of racing here, and continuing to go along quite well, especially the man at the very front, the number 93, Joshua Chin. 3.5 tenths of a second now back to that little gaggle of cars behind him. Of course, those machines still very firmly within the slipstream of that leading car for the moment, so he hasn't exactly broken away for all intents and purposes, but definitely displaying the dominance that he's had in this race throughout the season.
Yeah, he certainly is. And the one thing that he is going to have working against him here is that he is going to be the lead car in that pack. So he is breaking the air for the rest of the drivers. And what that really means is that he is not going to be able to get any benefit of the slipstream. And with that, he is not going to get any fuel saving done. Now, remember in the early stages in this stint, Chin was behind in this pack. He was just kind of lurking back there. So I wonder if Chin has already hit the fuel numbers that he needs to hit, and he is now able to go full bore here as he starts to push his way ahead. That could be a little bit of what we saw. Logan Simmons, though, preferring to run that big arcing line there. Good heads up from Andrew Wood, being able to recognize that, not diving down to the inside of Simmons there. And this is starting to seem a little bit calmer here in the front of the field.
Yeah, single file, strung out, not the pack racing 2x2 that we saw in the first 20 or so laps. And, well, I guess the drivers behind are mostly focusing on the fact that, well, we can't let Chin break this draft. We have to keep tabs on him, otherwise the chance of the race win is, well, the percentage chance is going to be reduced. But look, they're going side by side once again in this pack. Not exactly coordinated. The only coordinated cars, I guess, are the Chimera cars that are currently P1, 2, and just about 3.
Yeah, pretty much here. It's Andrew Wood now is going to be able to hold on to that third place position. So Team Chimera is running 1, 2, 3 there. A little bit of a drift up from Wood. Logan Simmons seeing his momentum blunted there ever so slightly. And I do wonder if this is getting to the point in the stint. Remember, we are probably about 10 laps away or less from pit stops. We talk about that tire wear, and what that really means is you're not able to hold the car down nearly as much. It's going to drift up to the outside a little bit more as they run through the corners, so I wonder if that's what we saw there from Wood. We jump back here a little bit further in the field. This is that second group. We focus on Mike Grandy right now as there's a little bit of side-by-side between Grosser and Saunders.
Indeed, there is our featured driver going up against the driver trying to recover from that basically near-death experience as he got himself a whole bunch of oversteer coming off of turn number 2 just a good handful of laps ago, and continuing to try and work his way through this pack. It seems like he's gotten this fast done over Robert Grosser now. He can try chasing the 3 cars ahead of him of Shoemake, Aitken and Grandy. Aitken, of course, disrupting that Aero X dominance at the very front of this little mid-pack field. So Aitken continuing to make some good progress here. And if he can get disposed of Randy Shoemake as well, which is not the easiest task, let me tell you that, then he should be on for a decent finish. Oh, Logan Simmons, well held, my friend, and it turns into a 3 wide with Andrew Wood in the middle.
Ooh, that is a moment that'll put your heart right in your mouth there. If you are Logan Simmons, he is lucky to be able to hold on to that car in 5th place position, but Jan Dirks now looking to maybe take advantage of it. Let's go back and check out this replay. This was absolutely insanely held here from the number 92 Iconic Motorsports car. That car just wanted to drift up the track. Maybe a little bit of contact there from behind from Andrew Wood. Wood, no fault of his own there. I think that was just a reaction. Let's ride on board. Watch his hands.
Well, not that much to look at his hands. He just sort of let the car settle out itself with just minimal input on the steering wheel. It is so tempting in those situations to wrench the wheel one way or the other, but sometimes all the car needs is some gentle encouragement and you are able to save it. So great driving there from Simmons.
Yeah, fantastic driving. Almost doing a little bit of dirt tracking here, taking back to Indycar's roots as they continue to run. And Simmons, he is going to be the last car in that leading group. And crucially, what that has done is that has closed the gap here between that now secondary group and the group that we were following earlier with Shoemake, Aitken, Grandy, and Saunders. That gap's only about 1.4 seconds. So I wonder if we're going to see that close down a little bit more. But granted, the part with that is we are coming up on that pit stop window, and so that could change things around.
Yep, it could. 39 laps is the lower bound of the pit stop window here today. It all depends on if you've been able to fuel save up behind a couple of cars or not. So we expect leaders of packs like, well, Jamie Wilson in the early stages, Joshua Chin now, Randy Shoemake potentially to be coming down in a little bit earlier than the rest of the pack because they've been running in relatively clear air. They haven't been able to do the lifting and coasting behind their competitors. Everyone else can push it up a good couple more laps, maybe even into lap 44 at a stretch, maybe 45, depending on how their fuel numbers and how their fuel saving strategy has been working out for them in this race. It's going to be intriguing to see who does what here in terms of the strategy. Of course, if this goes green all the way, that could be an absolutely massive turning point.
Yeah, it certainly could if you're able to save. Ooh, that was a little bit of a bobble there for Randy, losing it off of the edge, coming down and catching it onto the paved runoff there down to the inside of the backstretch. That is a lucky driver there for the number 12.
Here we go. Little moments, of course, as the tyres are getting pushed towards the end of their stint now, not going to be as stable coming through the corners. And of course, you've got all those aerodynamic effects here in the Indycars as well to be concerned about. And he might have even touched the white line a little bit there coming through turns 1 and 2, but well held though.
well held indeed, and he is very, very thankful for that paved runoff there to the inside, added shortly after the unfortunately fatal incident for Greg Moore. That paved runoff there to the inside, added in the early 2000s to this Fontana circuit, and that is going to see Grandy coming on down pit lane. Little bit of side-by-side here in that second pack as they run right now. That is going to be the 45 of Jan Dirks. Andrew Wood directly up ahead of him. As we hear here coming over the radio, Ethan Agan is going to be coming down pit lane. I believe Randy Shoemake as well. Marshall Stanley. Quite a few drivers opting to come in here on lap 42.
Here we go, diving down on towards the pit lane comes Ethan Agan, Joshua Chin and Jamie Wilson also came down in. Big lock up there from Agan. He's got to be so careful of the pit lane speed limit here. And, well, trundling down pit lane they come. So Chin in, Wilson in. Those were kind of the expected ones, given the amount of laps that they both ran at the very front of the field with no draft. Woods continues on out. Same with Jan Dirks and Andrew Ades Saunders as well, at least from that. Is that Chin missing his box slightly? That's going to be a second or so at least that he's lost there.
Yeah, that's going to be a lot of work to be able to gain back on here for the number 93. He is going to be out and on his way. Looks like he's still going to be in the lead of that group. A little bit of a close exit there as they ran out, but I'm going to be fascinated to see where he's going to come out in regard to the likes of Wood and Dirks up ahead of him.
Well, less up ahead of them, more in the pit lane coming in behind them, but a lap ahead. So here we go. Yet more cars coming down towards the pit lane. Hopefully not having the same sort of problems as Chin had trying to get himself stopped in his pit box. Andrew Wood down and in as the leader of that particular pack. Pretty much everyone else coming down and in now. Those that pitted a lap earlier getting themselves up to speed, heading their way up towards that start-finish line. But the back straight is going to be crucial here with cars coming out.
Yes, it is, and it is going to take a little bit of time for them to get up to speed. There is Chin. Even with that problem in the pits, he is still out and into the lead of this race. That is impressive stuff from the Team Chimera driver. It looks like Agan and Wood filtering their way back in at about 4th place or so. It's going to be Chin and Jamie Wilson up ahead in this pack. Ethan Agan is going to be about a second or so behind them.
Yep, he is. Let's see if he's able to just sort of hang on to the very end of the draft that those front two cars will be producing. It's a crucial stage of the race here for Egan. He's going to have to push on these outlaps a little bit to make sure that he doesn't lose touch with Chin or Wilson. And potentially he might even be able to bring Simmons, Wood and Dirks along with him if they're also able to keep tabs on the cars ahead. So this these next couple of laps, these next 10 laps, going to be pretty important, although I can already see Egan losing a little bit of time to Wilson.
Yeah, losing a little bit of time, but crucially here for Chin and Wilson up front, they're going to start coming on some lap traffic in the form of Robert Barkanow and Art McEwen that they're going to have to work their way around. Now, obviously, with fresher tires, that's going to be a little bit easy. Ooh, that was a sketchy moment for Chin.
Indeed it was. We don't need lap traffic getting itself involved at this stage. That's the number 14 car of Robert Barkanow. And, well, Robert's not going to make it easy for Joshua Chin to get the lapping procedure underway. It's not required that he gets fully out of the way. It's the onus on the leading lap car to be able to get through there. So, yeah, Chin wouldn't have appreciated that too much. Neither would have Wilson, but their gap back to Egan still looking relatively healthy at about a second. So, in the end, I don't think they really lost all that much.
No, I don't think they did either. And now the question is going to be here for Egan if he's actually going to be able to use that lap car as a little bit of a leapfrog once again. Maybe be able to move himself up forward, get a little bit of a heaping of the draft, as it looks like he's only about 0.5 of a second behind him. And so that means that he will be pulling in very, very closely. Little bit of a look there for Jamie Wilson. That's a little bit surprising. Remember, these two are teammates here up in the lead of the race. You'd think they'd definitely be working together here at about the quarter-century mark.
Yeah, we'll have to see what the situation is between the two Chimera teammates. No doubt they'll be communicating their intentions over the radio as there goes Jamie Wilson down the inside at 3 and 4, getting himself up into the race lead over his teammates, and We'll get the lead lap logged. That's some alliteration for you on the way down in towards turn 1 now. And well, that entire procedure did lose them about a tenth or so back to Egan and Simmons.
Yes, it did, and that is not certainly at all what these drivers are going to want to be seeing here. Joshua Chin trying to work his way forward a little bit as they run right now, trying to catch up, trying to play a little bit as they go, trying to see what can happen here for these drivers. Chin just holding in behind that gap now at about 9/10 of a second. Egan's got to be playing this heads up right now. He wants to just keep in behind those tire tracks as much as possible, but the one thing is if he really pushes himself here at this point, that's going to cost him valuable fuel mileage. And with as clean as we've seen this race going, knock on your patented RaceSpotTV block of wood that we all keep next to our computer, if we stay clean and green, that fuel mileage could be pretty crucial.
Yeah, I'm having a look at the exact pit stop times here. Joshua Chin 10.7 stationary in the box. Of course, he had to do that little bit of repositioning, so it's maybe not as good as it first looks. Jamie Wilson, though, of pretty much every car looking up down the order, apart from Steven Rossman a bit further down the order, he was the longest, the driver that spent the longest time stationary on pit lane. So definitely maximizing the fuel. Of course, there's an element of randomness, exactly which range of pit stop times we'll see. But at least looking at that, Wilson, you know, with the longest stop of this entire front grouping, maybe taking just a tiny bit more fuel.
And maybe a tiny bit more fuel, and that obviously doesn't mean that he's necessarily got more fuel in the tank than these other drivers. It just means that he ran it down a little bit more, that he used a little bit more fuel as they go. But there you see Wilson and Chin getting their way by Art McEwen, the latest driver to go a lap down here in this race. That's going to be 16th position going a lap down. And again, this could be some good news here for Ethan Egan, as there you can see he's going to be following in the tire tracks of Art McEwen, getting that benefit of the slipstream here as they cross over the start-finish line.
Yeah, if Egan can time this right, he can use this as a little bit of a bridge between himself and the leading pair. Down towards the inside he goes, the lap traffic allowing him to do so. As long as he doesn't compromise Egan too much off the exit, he'll take that every single day. And yeah, it has gained him a decent chunk of time over the guys in front. So it's about 7.5 tenths of a second now between Chin and Egan. The closer Egan gets here, the more that slipstream is going to be helping him out in terms of reeling in those front couple of cars. Oh my word, Jan Turks almost had a Egan still with the lap traffic.
Yeah, coming up off the corner there a little bit, and Yan now going to just try to take a heaping of the draft as they come around. Let's go ahead and check out that replay. Actually, an apology being issued over the radio there to say sorry about that. Let's watch the 45 from on board here. That is McEwen up on the high side. That lapped car, number 40, as he comes around down to the inside, you can hear Yan getting out of the throttle. Whew, that car just drifted up the track. I don't think he expected it to do that.
Yeah, and there was a bit of contact. Let's have a look. Bang!
Ooh!
Not going to help the suspension on that Indycar.
No, it is certainly not, and these suspensions are, they're sturdy suspensions when you think about them in terms of a road car, but when you're going 211 miles an hour, even the merest of hits can be a big thwack to the car. So we'll have to keep our eyes here on the 45 to see if any more problems continue to go on, and if we suspect that there could be a little bit of a problem for that car. We focus now, though, on Ethan Egan. Simmons just tucked up behind him, and they've been able to really bring that gap down. Simmons now going up to the high side there. Not really sure what that was all about. Maybe just carried a little bit too much overspeed and wanted to lift out of the throttle there a little bit.
Yeah, diamonding off the corner a little bit there. Not entirely sure what the strategy was there for Logan Simmons. Can do the same though into 3, so looks like he is deliberately trying to take the wider entry to these corners, maybe just to save the tyres a little bit, and of course to get a little bit of clean air on that front wing to help the grip issue through the corners, because of course there's a lot of turbulent air coming off the back of that number 20 car. It's best to just sort of stick your nose into some of the more laminar flow, shall we say, to get a little bit more performance out of the car.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I mean, these Indy cars, the front wings and the rear wings, indeed the whole aerodynamic effect of the car designed to work well in clean air. And when you've got a car in front of you that's breaking up that air, the air is very turbulent, you're not going to get the same effect. You're not going to get the same amount of downforce pushing down on the car. And that's what we call a little bit of the aero wash when it starts to drift up the track a little bit. But look at this. Ethan Hagen, with the help there, a little bit of some of that lap traffic, he is right back up to where he wants to be. He is within 0.2 of a second of your leaders, Wilson and Chin, and this whole party has been brought back together.
Leader has getting a little bit fortunate with the lap traffic being a very big help there for Ethan Hagen, and now potentially he could just chill out a little bit, get some fuel saving done here in third place, because no doubt he would have used a lot of that fuel trying to get this gap down to where it is, so he can give the car a little bit of a respite here and for a couple of laps before even thinking about trying to charge on further forwards. But yeah, this hasn't worked out quite as Wilson and Chin would have hoped. They would have at least expected themselves to try and pull away after that first set of green flag stops, but they were just not able to get themselves clear. They would have definitely preferred to have this as a 2-car race between the two of them rather than the 6-car race that we currently have now at the front.
Yeah, exactly, and that just throws up a whole nother bunch of variables here for these drivers, and that is not what they want to have, as you said, for Wilson and Chin. Although for Hagen, Simmons, Wood, and Dirks, I think they are very, very happy, and we're seeing a lot of that single-file racing here at this point. Not a lot of drivers wanting to poke their nose this way and that. You do see a little bit of outside movement there for Andrew Wood. That's, I think, just trying to get a little bit of clean air on the right side of that car, just get a little bit more grip off of the turn in or a turn out there for the corner as they come down now through 1 and 2, continuing to work their way around. Joshua Chin just holding in there behind. We do have a little bit of side-by-side further back in the field. This is Shoemaker and Adair Saunders.
Indeed, these guys at the front of the second pack. There is Andrew Aitken sort of between them and the main one for the moment, so just running on his own there in 7th place, but behind him, Alpha 8th place going on. Randy Shoemake nose ahead for the moment, but Adair Saunders definitely looking to try and make some progress around that outside. Half a car length to the good at the start-finish line. Not quite clear, though, in towards turn number 1, so Shoemake can continue to try and fight this one out. Franz Joseph Sturm is the car in behind, as well as Hannes Pitkanen. Let's see what they're able to make of this one, but yeah, these guys having a big old squabble for this 8th place.
Indeed they are, in some good respect here. Well, as soon as I say that, a little bit of a pinch there going on. That is a little bit of a commentator's curse. But I was saying some good respect there between the two drivers, but it looked a little bit there like Randy Shoemake, just tired of sitting around, and that coming together, he pushed a little bit higher up on the track, trying to diamond the corner a little bit more, and that is going to be enough to put Andrew Adair Saunders a little bit behind. Franz Joseph Sturm there in the number 34. They're going to be running side by side now, and I'm not sure if that's at all what Andrew Adair Saunders really wanted to have happen. It looks like he wants to try to slot his way back down into line, just can't really find the opportunity to do it without lifting out of the throttle too much.
Yeah, Pitkanen's not going to give him too much of an opportunity to do that now. Ideally, he would have slot in behind Adair Saunders there, but not the case, or rather, excuse me, would have slotted in ahead of Jans-Josef Sturm, excuse me, as I get my names all mixed up. But Saunders continuing to drop further behind here now. He has lost that position properly to Sturm, and now potentially might get pressured a little bit by Hannes Pitkanen in behind. Saunders certainly hounding the back of Sturm coming through these corners, but in the end it was his mispositioning that ended up losing him that spot.
Yeah, his mispositioning there, and I think just falling off of rhythm a little bit, falling out of sequence. You know, there's so much momentum to be gained here in these Indy cars. They're not, again, to make the comparison, they're not like the NASCARs that we see run around here nowadays, where you've got to take a lap or two to really get up to speed. It takes about a half a lap for these classic Indy cars to be going at full chat. But if you back off a little bit, it takes a moment to build that back in. And the other part part of that is the rhythm of the driving. When you're driving an oval like this, so much of it is just feeling the track, hitting your lines, feeling out the rhythm, even as you would on a road course. And so getting thrown out of that just a little bit, it can take you a couple laps to recover.
Yeah, indeed it can. And, well, this second pack still continuing to give us the action here. Of course, we'll have updates on the leading pack when there's any changes, basically, but they're mostly running single file at the moment, with the exception, potentially, of the leading two that might have gotten close to going side by side on a few occasions, but I doubt they'll be too aggressive with it, considering they're both teammates and they have a whole swarm of cars behind them that would very much like to get to the head of this field at the moment. But so yeah, I think it's going to be more conservative running here for Wilson and Chin for the moment. I have to wonder towards the end of this stint whether or not we'll see Chin allowed to get back towards the very front and stretch his legs again, like we saw in the first stint.
Yeah, we'll have to see. I think it's especially intriguing because Jamie Wilson is one of those Team Chimera drivers. He is teammates with Joshua Chin, and so for them to run as they are, maybe there's a little bit of play coming into it. Maybe there's a little bit of team communication, wanting to give Joshua as many points as possible to be able to move his way up through the order. Everybody here, though, looking like they're hugging down on that low line. Looked like Logan Simmons getting a little bit fidgety there coming off of turn 4, and still a little bit fidgety coming across the start-finish line, just trying to pick his lane here a little bit more, trying to figure out where he wants to go. Looked like he got a little bit of a good run there on Ethan Agan. We ride on board with Logan Simmons as he tries to see if he's going to be able to get anything. He is at full chat right now, not hearing a whole lot of lifting off. He's going to take a big look to the outside, keeping that throttle pinned as they go down through the corner.
It is not that much of a lift whatsoever. Simmons, yeah, now he's going to lift across the start-finish line there as his closing speed up to Agan was just that little bit too much. That was just to avoid contact there and to also get that fuel saving done. So it's definitely fuel save mode for pretty much everyone here in this leading pack. They know that potential strategy advantage might be the one that they need to try and win this race at the end of 200 laps, but still in relatively early stages here at the moment. Lap 70 of 200. Still a long way to go from this point forward, but if you're thinking that this race is going to go green to the end, you kind of have to back solve your strategy from now.
Yeah, you certainly do, and with drivers taking it to about lap 42 or 43, I think that means we're going to see, I won't call it a true splash and dash at the end of the race, but we are certainly going to see that strategy play itself out, and I think a lot of drivers here waiting to see what they're going to be able to do in terms of any running, in terms of that fuel strategy. You don't want to commit to an early splash and dash here and run the risk of being in the danger zone, going a lap down. You want to just take these stints out as long as humanly possible as they run. As we watch here that battle in the bottom pack here, Franz Joseph Stum, Andrew Adair Saunders changing positions around, Hans Pitkanen just kind of lurking in the background, and that's the position that I would want to be in really here if I'm looking at one of these fights. I don't want to be going side by side here. I don't want to be putting up too much of a battle. I just want to wait and watch. Let this race come to me.
That's exactly what you have to do at this stage of the event. No rush to really get anywhere, and it's sitting in the middle of the packs, getting the fuel saving done. Probably the best option, especially if you know you can't get to the front and break away from anyone else. So I would definitely argue that leading a pack at the moment, not necessarily the best place to be, because you're just using fuel for no reason. But more battling going. Oh, yellow.
And, Kinder, this looks to be a solo car incident here for the number 97. Trying to figure out how that car's doing there necessarily as he works his way back around. We'll have to go back to the replay here to check out and see exactly what happened to the 97. This is coming out of turn 2. Oh. Touch that white line.
Exactly. And you cannot afford to do that in these cars. We've seen a couple of close calls with it already, but Sebastian Kinder's the first one to fall completely foul to it. and cause our first yellow of the day, and another spin afterwards trying to recover as well. It's not exactly going to be the most fantastic of looks, but lap 74, first caution of the day. How does this factor in terms of the strategy? I think everyone going to come down in. We've got 30 laps on the stints already, so yeah, you're going to lose too much by staying out at this point, hoping for another one. So there we go. We're expecting to see everyone come down in.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's going to be a gambler here and opt to stay out necessarily. We may see a couple of the drivers who were a lap down opt to stay out, maybe try to get their lap back, but even then I think that's going to be pretty risky. Those drivers that you saw flashing by, they are still on the D-Oval. Those are drivers that are a lap down, not allowed to pit here with them. And this is going to be the time here, Connery. This is where you do not want to have one of those pit stop errors like we saw Joshua Chen have on the last run.
Exactly. Looks like most people into their boxes fine. You will see the fresh rubber going onto those cars and the potentially full tanks of fuel at this point as well. Although saying that, nowhere near, as we see Joshua Chen coming off of the pit lane in first place. Jamie Wilson maintains second place with Logan Simmons in third. But those stop times are anything from about 8 to 9 seconds.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be a little bit... Yeah, not full tanks. A little bit influenced by the fact that we still had about 10 laps to go in the stint or so, but maybe some drivers opting to gamble here a little bit, trying to maybe play backwards. Remember, we talked about that. We talked about that count back here for these drivers, maybe needing to do a little bit of a splash and dash. A couple of drivers maybe thinking this is the chance to be able to do that and get onto what would be considered a normal pit stop cycle, counting back to the end.
Well, you can do it in 3... Well, we've got 125 to go. You can do that on a couple of 41, 42 lap stints, right? Which is possible for these guys. We're seeing maximum of 44s sometimes. So maybe they're trying to, again, sort of backstall from the end of the race, only taking the fuel needed for those particular stints. But we'll see.
Yeah, we'll have to see. This is some of the fun here that comes at IndyCar Oval Racing and why we love covering the classic IndyCar series presented by the Buttkicker. Absolutely incredible stuff to be able to kind of do some of that math. But the lights are already out on the iRacing pace car, and we will be ready to go back racing live here in just a lap's time. It is going to be Joshua Chen leading the way at the front of the field. His Team Chimera teammate Jamie Wilson behind him, Logan Simmons, Andrew Wood, and Jan Dirks and Ethan Agen rounding out your top 5. Agen, I think, here going to be one to watch for. Obviously, your pole sitter. We know he's got plenty of speed in that car, so let's see what he's able to do here today. And let's see if anybody's going to be aggressive here off of the restart and maybe try to gain a couple of positions.
Interesting thing to note, once again, Jamie Wilson with a longer stop compared to his peers, 9.2 seconds. Everyone else, 8.5 or thereabouts. So that's a repeat of the first stops there for Jamie Wilson.
All right, making note of that. We'll have to see how that plays out for Jamie longer on in the race. About 0.7 of a second there, slower than Joshua Chen, his teammates, and pretty close to a second there, longer than pretty much everybody else in the field. You see everybody up holding on to that high lane there. Joshua Chen ready for the restart, starting off in second gear here, and there he goes. He's going to get onto the loud pedal as the green flag flies, and we are back racing again. It's a good jump there for Chen and Wilson. About 0.4 of a second gap back to Logan Simmons, but rest assured that gap is going to be made up here in short order time, I have to imagine.
Yeah, I would expect so as well, but a good start nonetheless from Chen, and of course Wilson as well. The luxury of having teammates around you on a restart is that you can time things a little bit, especially as one of your cars is the leader. You know, some people might say that that's not fair. I say that's just the nature of racing. Why not you get yourself your teammates towards the front and then you can do it?
Yeah, that is what you want to be able to have happen if you're running in a team situation, as Wilson and Chin very, very close to one another right now. Logan Simmons now trying to close in about 4.5 tenths of a second back to them. He's running in a little bit of an island unto himself, with Ethan Agan now starting to close up behind Andrew Wood behind them. A big gap starting to develop, though. Looks like Randy Shoemake not able to get the best running there. He's going to be about 1.3 seconds behind as we flick our way back through the field. There you can see Shoemaker almost 3 wide there behind. I think that's some lap cars getting involved in that.
Yeah, indeed it is. But they should all sort themselves out coming into turn number 1. There's Andrew Ades Saunders just getting by on all of that. But yeah, lap traffic involved. And again, we'll see how this impacts the cars towards the very back of the field. Because, of course, if that's a Valfor position, which I believe it is, I think between, well, there's one at the back here between Robert Grosser and Jan Hoffman. Then obviously that car's battling for position is going to be a bit of an issue, but it looks like they've been able to sort themselves all out, and back under green flag conditions here at Fontana. Joshua Chin and Wilson, they're continuing to be caught here by Logan Simmons and Andrew Wood, so they weren't necessarily expecting to break away off of that restart, but they had a good couple of laps of well, being all on their own at the very front of the field, but no immediate caution straight after the restart, so we know that back-to-back cautions are not necessarily the most ideal viewing. Thankfully, we've been able to avoid that so far.
Indeed, we have, and keeping away from the trend of cautions breed cautions as we watch this front pack starting to eke their way back together. Setting the fastest lap of the race last time by the way, was Jan Dirks, who is officially on the back of this 6-car train, let's call it, at the front of the field. Andrew Aitken about 6 tenths of a second behind everybody trying to close in there. You can really see everybody on your screen as they close in. That's going to be a move to the outside there, trying to really diamond off the corner was Logan Simmons. He's looking a little bit eager, and he's going to drift up there a little bit as they go. But this top 5 really pulling together here. We ride on board right now with Logan Simmons. Let's see if he takes a similar approach going down into 1 and 2. That's exactly what he's going to want to do. He's maybe thinking a little bit about tire wear, thinking a little bit about car performance, trying to get as much clean air on the front of that car as possible.
Yeah, Simmons is definitely the one that's preferred that big wide arc through the corner compared to the rest of the drivers. Trying to make some progress around the outside here, but he's going to get pushed up the circuit a little bit, potentially from a little bit of the arrow wash that was coming up, and as well, now he's got a car underneath him. That's going to be Andrew Wood, who joins the Team Chimera conga line on the bottom.
Yes, indeed. So just as we saw earlier on in the race, those top 3 Chimera drivers running 1, 2, 3 yet again. Chin, Wilson, and Wood. It does look like Simmons falling down there a little bit as Ethan Agan's going to be able to get to his inside. That big diamond of a line not necessarily playing out as well as I think Logan Simmons would hope. Getting a little bit feisty there with Jan Dirks, the number 45, as they run. Dirks holding on to the back of this train right now. Andrew Aitken, we mentioned a little bit earlier, looks like he has not been able to hold on to the back of these this crowd as they run. And again, Logan Simmons running that big diamond line there, just, I think, wanting to get as much clean air as possible onto that wing as he can.
He's trying to take the path of least resistance, shall we say, in terms of steering input and dirty air, like you mentioned. Again, going high through the entry of turn 3. Diving back down in, and, well, you can see the progress that Jan Dirks made on him throughout that corner. Yeah, that line is not really working out, at least at this stage in the stint for Simmons. It might be something that really benefits him later on, especially if he's saving a bit of the tires by doing so. But right now, it's definitely the slower way around the circuit.
Yeah, it certainly is. And you see a little bit more there of the 45 doing what I would expect to run, just running about a half a lane up there on Simmons as he came his way down through the corner. And that's going to be enough to be able to get some clean air onto the front of that front wing and be able to make it do exactly what he wants to do. A little bit of a look there for Ethan Agan, maybe thinking about a little bit of something, maybe thinking about trying to move his way around here a little bit. But I don't think at this point he's got any indication of wanting to move around. Is there we see Andrew Wood running in that lane that I talked about, just about a half lane up, trying to get some air on the right front of that car. These top 6 running very, very close to one another and not looking like they're slowing each other down as Andrew Aitken has dropped a full 1.5 seconds behind this pack.
Yeah, not able to keep himself in contention here. as Andrew Aiken, and he's going to drop a couple more tenths pretty much every single lap, it seems, here at the moment, and that's not ideal for the driver of the number 27. He'd rather be at least on the back of this, keeping himself in it, rather than stuck in no man's land at the moment, and potentially, if the pack behind them get themselves in order, it gets swallowed up by them. But for now, it seems like the gap's relatively stable to those cars behind him. It's also a 2.5 second gap, so a lot to play with in that department. So leading pack now, 6 cars strong still, and well, there's not much going to be separating these drivers at the moment, unless there's a little moment from one or multiple of them, and it causes them to fall back a little bit. But we've got a couple of pitters though, Rosa and Hoffman coming down in it.
Yeah, and these were 2 drivers that opted to stay out on that last yellow flag. We talked about the potential of a couple of cars a lap down, trying to be able to get their lap back. It looks like that's exactly what they banked on doing here, and it looks like that strategy not going to play out for them, as they're going to find themselves all the way down in the order as the leaders thunder on by them.
Yeah, it's, well, Rosa and Hoffman were potentially hoping for another quick yellow and be able to get themselves their free pit stop and at least join the leading lap. But unfortunately, it hasn't quite happened that way for them. But they'll get themselves fresher tyres, they'll get themselves a fresh load of fuel, and back out there they go. But it's been a difficult race for the Vortex guys at the moment, especially considering they're seeing their Chimera rivals, as it usually tends to be, taking all 3 podium spots at the moment. That's going to be a tough one to take.
Yeah, it's got to be very, very tough indeed to do, as now we see Andrew Wood trying a little bit of that Logan Simmons line, really diamonding off the corner there a little bit with his 2 teammates in front of him. I do get the sense that he's not necessarily going to be pushing as hard to try to get his way forward, probably just trying to see what the car's feeling like a little bit more on that high side line as he now brings his way down through the corner. A little bit of a look behind there from Logan Simmons on Ethan Agan, maybe potentially thinking about trying to get a run there if he can, but that doesn't look like it's going to play out. Everybody just staying very calm, staying in single file order here, not really trying to play too many games here as we approach the halfway marker in this race.
See what the game plan is right now for Team Chimera, because they've gotten themselves P1 through 3. Yes, there's situations where team orders come into effect. Maybe not potentially at a halfway point of the race, but towards the end, whether or not that they'll be able to fight amongst each other, or they'll just decide, okay, well, we'll take this P1 through 3 and just try and deny anyone else the podium. Of course, we're still a long way from talking about the checkered flag here, but it's certainly something to look forwards to. Whether or not Chimera will establish a bit of a roadblock at the front and give Chin an easy win.
Yeah, I wonder how that is going to play out. I mean, we could see the team tactics play in that way, that we've got to worry about the championship and be thinking about all of that. There may also be a little bit of, well, let's call it Team Penske strategy. Roger Penske, obviously the captain here, renowned for having his drivers run the perfect strategy together, working together in the 190 laps of the Indianapolis 500, and then on the last 10 laps, it is anybody's game. So we'll have to see if maybe that's the strategy that they choose to do here today.
Yeah, I certainly wouldn't be surprised. Big picture thinking at the moment, but like you said, when it comes down to the last 10 laps, sometimes you can't really dictate to a racing driver what you want them to do, and they just kind of go rogue and go off and do their own thing. But at least for the Chimera guys, these they've raced each other for years and years at this point, and especially with other drivers in this series as well, they know what the situation is. So again, we will just try and figure that one out on the fly towards the very end of this race. But you're right, we are heading towards the halfway point of this event. We're kind of getting ourselves towards the halfway point of the stints as well after our first and only yellow flag so far. So it sounds about around about that time to give a couple of our sponsors a shout out.
Yes, indeed it does. And first and foremost, we have to thank MKT Manufacturing Incorporated. They are a manufacturer of premier foundation equipment and was founded to meet the pile driving and drilling equipment needs of our customers who build the foundation of our nation's future. As partners with our customers, they strive to deliver on-time, high-quality, top-performing, and cost-effective equipment for them to do their job well. So massive thank you there to them. Once again, that being MKT Manufacturing Incorporated. And we also want to give a big shout out here to our secondary sponsor, Extreme Scoring. They are the new timing and scoring partner for the league here, and check them out at extremescoring.info for more information there on them. We'd also like to let everybody know about the Classic IndyCar Series Patreon page. If you want to become a donor, gold, or platinum member of this series, go ahead and donate there. There's a link in the description below. And one of the ways to be able to become one of the featured drivers here today is by jumping over to that Patreon page. So if you like what you are seeing, jump on over to the series Patreon, and let's go ahead and give a little bit of love here to our race's featured driver. That is going to be the driver of the number 6, Robert Grosser. Now, he was one of those drivers that did opt to take that alternate strategy, currently running a lap down here for Vortex Sim Racing. So not exactly the performance here that I think Grosser would like to have on the day, but we still have 100 laps to run here at Fontana, so plenty of time for Grosser to be able to work with his teammate right here, Jan Hoffman, and maybe see the two of them work their way back up in the order.
Yeah, race is not done yet. There's still over 100 laps to go. Anything can happen, as is the case in racing a lot of the time. So I wouldn't be panicking so much if I was these two Vortex cars. You know, they're not in a great situation, I will admit. You know, that much is obvious, but a couple of well-timed yellow flags, they can definitely get themselves back on the leading lap and back amongst the thick of things, because we do like to see them up there and show their stuff. They are definitely veterans of this series, and to see them languishing towards the back is a little bit hurtful in a way, considering their usual performances. But this is just a blip for them, I guess.
Yeah, a little bit of a blip, and you know, most of the ovals that we visited over the course of this season have been a little bit more of the short oval in variety, and running on a super speedway like this, it is a completely different animal. Super speedway racing is really and truly a combination of methodical pace and constant long game thinking, as well as just absolute white knuckle driving where you are holding onto the car for dear life, running 2 or 3 wide. It's a very different skill to have, really and truly, when you're talking about running here. But let's talk a little bit about the track conditions. They have eked up just a little bit. It's about 18 degrees Celsius in the air, 65 degrees Fahrenheit. The track temperature has gone up by about 3 or 4 degrees Fahrenheit since the start of this race. It's about 84 degrees Fahrenheit, 29 degrees Celsius, 32% humidity out on track, and really no wind to speak of. And dare I say it yet again, just about a perfect California day. Exactly what you think of when you think of sunny Southern California.
Indeed, and well, we're not quite at the hottest point of the day yet either, so that temperature still has a room to climb a degree or so by the time this race is done. It's all factoring in terms of how the tyres will hold up towards the very end of these stints. But apart from a couple of problems through that first stint, we haven't really seen any drivers, at least on this stint yet, having too many problems with the grip out there. It all seems to be rather stable on rails, you could say, for the vast majority of these cars. That's not necessarily going to remain the case, is it, TJ? We've seen a few near misses already.
Yeah, we have, and most of those near misses have come at about 30 laps into the stint. So when we look at this, the last caution came out 32 laps into the stint for these leading drivers. Well, we're working on lap 28 of this stint. So we are about 4 laps away from getting into that sort of sketchy area. And let's not forget, on the first stint, we had a couple of drivers catching the lip of the apron, losing a little bit of grip of the car, and having to catch and hold on to it. So we may not be too far away from that here. The drivers are going to have to be on their game on every inch of these cars here to make sure that they don't slip up and we don't get our second yellow of the day. Once again, knock on your RaceSpotTV patent pending block of wood.
Drivers currently, to be able to do it on 2 stops from that yellow flag, targeting around about 41 laps on the stint at least. Of course, we still got that final portion lap or two to factor into that, which will definitely be helping them. But I guess that's the mark that they're targeting at the moment. To be able to cut out a pit stop here would be a rather tall order to be able to do, and in fact, verging on an impossibility. So that's definitely not worth thinking about. So 41, 42 laps. That's going to be the mark that we're looking for. So another 12 or 13 laps potentially for these drivers before they'll think about coming in. Some of them might want to come down in a little earlier than that to try and get a bit of an undercut going potentially. There's room in the window to do that. Not that much room, but there's still room nonetheless. We'll have to see what each of these drivers choose to do. And well, Chin and Wilson don't have the luxury of a humongous gap behind them like they did on the first set of green flag stops.
No, they don't, and indeed, they've got a very hungry-looking Jan Dirks, who's moved his way up to 3rd place, dropping down Andrew Wood, the 3rd of this Team Chimera trio that we'd seen running over the course, and now Dirks going to be running up to the high side here, maybe looking to be able to work on a little bit of that over-under on Jamie Wilson. He's certainly going to get a nice heaping of the draft coming down the back straightaway here. Doesn't dive down to the inside as Wilson indeed goes a little bit defensive, trying to hold off that line, playing a little bit of the rear gunner, I have to think, for Joshua Chin up at the front of the field, but here maybe comes that crossover. Nope, Dirks likes that high side.
He does. Jan Dirks trying to press on and make some progress. He's sort of been quietly waiting in the wings for the vast majority of this race. For the entire first half of this event, he was, yes, in that leading pack, but he wasn't making that much of an impact, that much of a statement. But now, things seem to have changed just that little bit. He's trying to mix it in with these Chimera machines and doing quite well at it at the moment, although he is all alone up there on that high line, and well, any friends behind have dropped off a little bit, namely Simmons.
Yeah, looks like they're a little bit farther back in the order right now as they go. And so looks like Jan Dirks is going to have to resettle maybe back for 4th place in line, as Andrew Wood has been able to get down to his inside as they continue to go. And there you see the order working their way around, trying to see what it is, trying to see exactly what Dirks can do. Team Chimera, though, keeping their stranglehold on the rest of the field, keeping everything nice and forward. We are about, let's call it, 8 laps, maybe 9, with that added yellow flag stop, with that added yellow flag running from a pit stop sequence here. Maybe bringing some of this field closer together, maybe stretching them out just a little bit.
Yeah, you know, the pit stops always have the potential to shake things up a little bit in these races. That's why we love having them with the green flag stops. But Simmons, Egan, all hoping for a bit of a miracle in the pit stop phase at the moment. They have lost a lot of time on this stint. Simmons is on the border of losing the draft to the leading pack here at the moment, which will not be the ideal situation, although he is saved somewhat by the fact that we are coming towards the end of a stint, so he can potentially pop down pit lane just a lap or so early, trying to get some undercut laps on the board and get himself back inside that slipstream. But for Aitken, for example, he doesn't really have the option of that.
No, he really doesn't. He sits about 1.8 seconds behind Logan Simmons, who in turn sits about 1.4 seconds behind this top 4 as they run. And so they need to get a hustle on here, it has to be said, as we come to the end of this. The top 4 looking like they're running in relatively calm position here. Jan Dirks certainly not really exhibiting any of the overtaking want, as there you can see Simmons and Aitken popping into the screen on the back there as they go. Egan as well into that mix, it has to be said, as they now continue to work their way through. And the question I'm going to have here is Joshua Chin. I've got to imagine that he has burned a little bit more fuel than the other drivers around him, considering considering the fact that he has been the one in the front of this, breaking the clean air for the rest of these drivers.
Of course, there is a measure of clear air fuel saving that you can do in these cars. It's not a totally lost cause when you're at the very front of these trains. It just makes your life a lot more difficult to do so. But Chin, of course, going to be an expert at these things, you would have thought, and definitely knows how to win races from this position. But yeah, like I said, it just makes his life a little bit more difficult when he doesn't have the buffer zone behind him, which he can use to do some clear air fuel saving. So yeah, well, we're just moments away, potentially even just a handful of laps, before we see these cars come dive down on towards the pit lane once again and see how the order turns out.
Yeah, we'll have to see just what it is as we tick into 39 laps done on this fuel stint. We haven't heard any calls over the radio right now for drivers to be pulling it down into pit lane. We focus here on a little bit of a battle starting to brew between Egan and Simmons there as they run directly there behind them. Another little battle. This is Andrew Adair Saunders, Randy Shoemake, Franz Joseph Stum also into that battle as well as Mike Grandy.
Indeed they are, and well, this battle has been a little bit more lively than the ones we've seen at the front, as we see Randy Shoemake diving his way down towards the inside at turn 3, and he is clear coming through the corner there. No signs of cars coming down on towards the pit lane once again on this particular lap, but we know green flag pit stops are imminent. But Andrew Adair Saunders continuing with this outside line. This can be a bit tricky around the pit stop phase, because if you do need to come in, you need to find a way of getting from that top line to the bottom without being blocked on the inside.
Yeah, you really do, and that's where some of the radio call over the live chat will come into play. You see a couple of drivers dropping back there. I wonder if that's a little bit of a sign that they're thinking about coming down into pit lane here shortly, working on lap 42 of the stint. We anticipate this probably going to 43 or 44 laps, considering we were under yellow there for a little bit, but let's see exactly what happens. I haven't heard any calls over the radio. A little bit of a drift down to the inside there for Andrew Wood, but I don't think that is a full-on commitment that he is going to be coming down pit lane. Sometimes you do see that as a way to look, as a way to signify that you are coming in. Working now on lap 43, so let's see if any of these leaders opt to come on down. Mike Grandy going to be the first one.
Yeah, first one in, getting himself slowed down for the pit lane speed limit as well. Fantastic to see, but yeah, he is the first one here. Decide to come down and in on the end of lap 42 of his stint. The rest of these drivers continuing out at least one more. We've got a lot of drivers making the calls over the radio now to signal to the others that they are coming down and in. Chin and Wilson in. We've got Dirks coming in as well. Andrew Wood stays out at least one more, all on his lonesome.
And I'm not going to lie to you here, Connery. I'm not sure I like that call of wanting to stay out. You're going to lose the draft. You're going to be running slower than you would with these drivers that come on down into pit lane right now. And so here, as you make your way down this long pit lane, we see them all come in. Let's see if anybody makes those mistakes that we saw earlier on. Chin misses his box again.
You can't be doing that. Second time in this race, Chin has missed his box and he has to stick it in reverse to get it back into the right position. He just about wins the race off of pit lane, however. Wilson actually having a terrible stop as well. Dirks getting himself side by side on pit exit with Chin, my word.
That got a little bit feisty, and that may be a battle that we see try to continue on here as they go. But let's wait and see. It is going to be Joshua Chin out in front. Dirks Wilson going to be in the top 3 here. Aitken a little bit farther back in the field right now as there comes Andrew Wood down into pit lane. I've got to think he's probably going to come out behind Chin as Chin is coming by the pit entry right now and Wood getting up to speed.
Here he is. Let's have a look then. Chin across the line. Where is Andrew Wood? There he is, just exiting out of turn 2, coming out onto the back straight. How much of a run of speed will the rest of the back behind have on him? Has this been a good decision for Andrew Wood or a bad one? Looks like it's been fantastic, actually.
Color me corrected there. I did not think that was going to work out for Andrew Wood and losing the draft, but it clearly worked out in spades for the 84 as he's got a gap of about 0.5 of a second on the rest of the field right now. Chin obviously going to be able to close in on him, but Jan Dirk's starting to look a little bit interested as well. Anticipate here. Let's do a little bit of count back. We should be one more pit stop until the end. That's about what I think it should be. Nobody's going to be able to make this on none.
Yeah, definitely not from this point, unless they have some form of auxiliary reserve fuel tank that definitely breaks regulations in this one. But yeah, definitely one stop now until the end of the race. And well, again, I have to criticize Chin quite a bit here, because I can forgive missing your box once in a race. I can't really forgive missing the box twice.
Yeah, neither can I. That seems like a bit of a rookie mistake there from Joshua Chin, who we would expect to be one of the most seasoned veterans, as indeed he is. We ride on board with Jan Dirks, though, as he comes up behind the Team Chimera now 1-2. Remember, we saw Dirks looking a little bit aggressive earlier on in the race. Let's see if he's going to continue that aggression or if he's going to be content to hold behind here for a couple of laps. Certainly looks like he's got a little bit of a run of overspeed. Going to fan out there coming through turn 1.
Yeah, just getting some clean air on that nose, making sure he isn't burning them up, sitting behind those two cars ahead. But Jan Dirks, a very quietly confident race so far. Like I said, in the early stages, he just kept himself in that leading pack, just kept himself to himself and see where the race took him. And now it's taken him to the fact where he's part of this leading quartet. And, well, 3 of them, all part of the same team. So I think Dirks might be feeling a little bit surrounded at this point.
I think he might be feeling a little bit surrounded as well, sort of maybe a mouse in the middle of a bunch of lions here as they go, trying to be able to keep his way forward. Though I have to say, Jamie Wilson not necessarily looking like he wants to be overly aggressive to push his way forward. I think Jamie relatively content to sit behind here, and I've got to think fuel saving is going to come into mind here a little bit as they run. We get ourselves closer and closer to the end. We get ourselves closer and closer to the end of the race, and you're gonna want to try to elongate this stint as much as possible to try to get into the end as they run.
Yeah, and well, Andrew Woods at the front of this field had a lap in hand compared to the rest of these guys on the strategy. However, he is kind of burning up that advantage at the moment by sitting at the very front of this train, so it might not quite work out in his favor. It's worked out in his favor for sure in terms of track position, maybe in terms of that final stop. We'll have to see if this call was the best one, but they got a bit of lap traffic ahead, which always has the chance to disrupt things here, has already over the course of this event, although these 4 at the front kind of on their own at the moment. It's 4 seconds, 4.1 seconds back to Andrew Aitken in that 5th place, so that gap continues to extend back to Aitken and Simmons and Egan as well.
Well, and we just heard the call over the radio, Art McEwen there, that slower lap car telling everybody to go low. So clearly some good sportsmanship there among the Classic IndyCar Series drivers. Although you do see Jan Dirks try to get a little bit of a draft off of the number 40 as they ran. So there you're going to see that slot up, although that's going to cost Dirks a little bit of time as he keeps his way down to the inside, getting past Art McEwen. There they go. It cost him maybe, let's call it a car length, but he'll be able to make that up in just a few laps time, so no real concern on that. Chin, meanwhile, looking like he got some very, very good speed off the line, but no intention to actually get on past.
Yeah, this is very well measured so far for Team Chimera, taking no huge risks, just running as this trio at the front. Yes, they have Dirks in their tow, but you know, potentially they can organise something amongst themselves to deal with him towards the back end of this race. All Dirks needs to do is just maintain the slipstream of those 3 leading undercars. You know, what's the point in pressing forward at this point when you know that those Chimera machines are just gonna make life hell for you? Just sit this, couple of tenths of a second back, get the slipstream, get the fuel saving done, and see what you can make of things in that final stint. That's when you're going to go hell for leather and try and gain these spots. Right now, the task is just race preservation and sit in that 4th place and put yourself in the best spot in the strategy. And that's all Dix can do at the moment.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there on that, as it is going to be a strategy run here to the end. You've got to make sure you can get this car to the end and hit those fuel numbers. Little bit of a battle starting to work itself out farther back in the pack. This is Logan Simmons and Ethan Agan. Remember, Agan, your pole sitter on the race, trying to work his way forward back to get into the running as they go. But Agan just not exactly having the strategy cards fall the way I think he would have liked them to go here today.
Yeah, it hasn't worked out, and the long run pace in particular hasn't been the most fantastic thing either. So, yeah, it's been a bit of a struggle, not only for Simmons, it's for both of them, for both of these iconic motorsports cars. It hasn't been the most fantastic day. However, I will put an asterisk on that and just say everything can change very quickly. If there's a quick caution here or not, that again completely changes the complexion of this race. We can talk about Aitken, Simmons, Agan, even Grandy, getting themselves back in the fight for the top couple of positions, and then it'll be an entirely different race. But if this goes green to the end here, then of course Simmons and Agan, the highest that they can even consider at the moment is a 5th place if they're able to lock onto the back of Aitken.
Right, but that is considering if we stay green to the end. We've seen how sketchy these cars can be coming off of the last couple of laps on the stint, and maybe just a little bit of problems there as they go, but we will have to see. Right now, we keep our eyes focused on this trio at the front of the field, Team Chimera, Andrew Wood, Joshua Chin, and Jamie Wilson, as they continue to do what they have done since, dare I say, since the drop of the green flag, and that is absolutely dominate this race. Jan Dirks looking a little bit behind there, running up on that high line. Now that was Jan Hoffman. Remember, Hoffman's on a little bit of an alternate strategy here, courtesy of staying out on our last yellow flag that we had. 68 laps to go here, though, at Fontana as we continue to work our way around. No real change here with these drivers. Everybody just being very calm, cool, and collected, not wanting to put themselves in any sort of risk.
This is still looking like a very comfortable race for Chimera. They know what the deal is. They know what the strategy is amongst the three of them. Just have that bottom line on lockdown. You'll save off of each other. Let's see what happens in the final stint. That's going to be the attitude that they're taking. Yes, well, Dix being in there is a factor that they have to consider, of course. Because if it was just the three of them at the front and only the three of them having a chance to take the race win, maybe they'll get a little bit more aggressive with each other. But since they do have a non-teammate involved, it sort of changes the race for them a little bit, because obviously they don't want to lose positions to Jan Dirks, and of course, as a result, lose points in the teams championship. But again, it's given how dominant they have been, I have to wonder how much of an issue that actually is.
Yeah, I have to wonder as well of just how much Jan Dirks is holding on here by his fingernails necessarily, and how much this is just him holding back a little bit as they run, as we did see Dirks get a little bit aggressive in that last stint. But we check here on the 34. This is Franz Josef Stum, Randy Shoemake there in the number 3, coming up behind them right there. This is the battle for 9th place as they run. They've got a little bit of a gap up ahead of them to Mike Grandy Sr. as they go, but I'm going to be interested to see here if maybe Randy Shoemake tries to be able to send a little bit of a move here on Franz Josef.
Could potentially do so. There's always the option, of course. Let's see what their situation is here in the race. They're about just shy of 2 seconds behind Grandy. They are 10 seconds ahead of Hannes Pickman, so no pressure from behind, and a low likelihood of catching the gap up to 8th place. So why not have a little bit of a fight here for 9th instead? Of course, that assumes, again, going green all the way until the end of this race, which is definitely not a guarantee. We've seen late race cautions already so far this season. They're certainly the thing that looms over the drivers' heads and always have to be considered, even though for some of the drivers you may not want it. Some of them, of course, they would definitely rather a late race caution if it benefits them. But for these guys in the front four, then that's the last thing they need.
Yeah, that's the last thing they need. And the other last thing they need is what they have in front of them right now. Stefan Roseman, Cameron Dance, and a little bit more of lap traffic. I believe also our featured driver there, Robert Grosser. And so that is a battle that they are going to be coming up on. And the question here is going to be is just how nice Grosser and Dance decide to play, considering they are in the battle unto themselves. And as you said earlier, they are not inclined to get out of the way. They are not forced to get out of the way. Woo, that was a little bit of a close run from Cameron Dance.
Indeed it was. He's going to keep to the driver's right-hand side on the way down into turn 3. Grosser going to cut down and in. So he's not feeling like he wants to get out of the way of these leaders either. You can see the reason why is because Dance is so close behind him. He will retreat to the high side, coming up towards the start-finish line though, and lets those leaders through down on the very bottom, but it has disrupted them somewhat, this leading pack, although it has caused no changes in and amongst them. And of course Aitken is about 5 seconds behind these guys, so he's not going to gain all that much out of it either. But it's always a sketchy situation. There's always a yellow that can be triggered from these sorts of lapping procedures. That's why you have to be on your tiptoes a little bit trying to get this done.
Yeah, you certainly do. And the good news here for these drivers, now that they've been able to get their way by and they're going to be running in some clean air, Andrew Adair Saunders is about 5 seconds up the road from them here. And so that means that they're going to have a little bit of free running. There we do see Jan Dirks running again on that big diamond line that he seems to really, really like. Jan just running that as they would. Let's keep on board here with the 45. Let's see if they run it again. Yes, indeed. Starts up high, then dives down low to really pick up the draft there. And it's working here for Dirks, although a little bit of aero wash there mid-corner forces him up the track ever so slightly, but still a good run there for them.
Indeed. Can't do anything with it really, though. This is definitely a tire-preserving line more than anything else. Although, you know, will he be able to do anything with the slightly better tire performance at the end of this stint? I severely doubt it. So it's a weird one here for Jan Dirks. Maybe he has to do this line to just try and keep the tire performance in there to try and hang on to these guys. He's going to get a bit of a run here off the corner, but not going to do anything with it whatsoever. And like I said, I don't think there's really much of a point of him trying to press on forwards here for reasons described before.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there. He just wants to keep in touch with the leaders here and put himself into a position when I think we get into the last 5-10 laps of this race to really try to push himself up forward. But we are working on about lap 24 of this stint, so let's consider just that we are going to be coming into the pit line here probably in about 18 or so laps. That's about the strategy that we've seen played out from the majority of these drivers. And as we've said before, one more stop will get you to the end of the race. Clean running here for these four. Also want to give a little bit of credit here to Cam Dance. Remember, he had a very, very bad qualifying all the way down through the field. Oh, we got a little bit of side-by-side here. Franz Josef Stum and Randy Shoemake. We said this battle may erupt here a little bit. Looks like that's what it's doing.
Actually, I think both of them are catching Mike Grandy as well. They gained about, well, just shy of 1/10 of a second on him. On that last lap. This lap traffic will help them actually bridge the gap slightly with the slipstream coming down the back straight. So maybe 8th place isn't too much of a lost cause for these guys, although like you said, they were trying to settle the differences for 9th in the immediate present. But yeah, it's definitely looking a little bit more positive for both of these drivers than it was, say, 15-20 laps ago when they were more than 2 seconds off the back of Grandy.
Yeah, so they're going to obviously be hoping for that. And let's not forget the other thing here is if they're able to maybe run a little bit longer on this pit stop, save a little bit of extra fuel, that could cut down some time. So we'll have to see if that maybe comes into playing on how they work things out with Grandy, though, although they work their way out of turn 2 right now, trying to be able to get themselves out of the corner, working everything around right now. Again, that's going to be Shoemake looking to the high side a little bit, trying to see if there is anything to run there. but we're not seeing side by side. I think that's some measured approach from Shoemake, kind of doing what we saw Jan Dirks do, just running that tire preservation line.
That does seem to be the case amongst these two. Big wide arcs into the corners, trying to get the wide arc off as well to not scrub the tires so much. Although there's no need to go all the way to the wall here at this circuit. It is very, very wide indeed. You might as well unwind things through the middle on the exit to make sure that you're still taking a relatively short route around. But it's starting to fizzle out just a little bit now. 2.5 tenths of a second between the two of them. Back up towards the race lead. Yeah, they're dealing with well, they just dealt with a little bit more lap traffic that has kind of bunched them up a little bit more.
Yeah, it has, and you can see just how close they are because Joshua Chin opting to move that car up about a half a lane there on the track, trying to see if he's able to find anything as they run. That's Cameron Dance that's holding on to the back of this grouping. Again, what could have been here for Dance if he'd had a better qualifying. It's the same story that we talked about last time out in Belle Isle, where Dance didn't exactly have the best qualifying, but was able to move his way up through the field. Dance here clearly has the pace to be able to keep up with these leaders, but not on the right lap to do so.
Yeah, and he's 2 laps down now as well, so even with a lucky caution or 2, it's still going to be a difficult situation for him. He needs a big string of cautions and be in the right place at the right time to get his laps back as well, which is an entirely different issue. So, yes, Dance, of course, definitely out of position compared to where his pace would usually indicate. But that's just the card that he's been dealt. You know, a poor qualifying can do this to your race, and you know, it's up to you to try and recover that, at least in the early portions of the race itself. But it seems like the cautions haven't really fallen his way either in this situation. So yeah, Dance is down in 15th place. Well, still out there on circuit. That's something to note. We've had 4 retirements from this race so far. Robert Burnko, Sebastian Kinder, Vissa Olia. We've got Tristan Hauser as well out of this event very, very early on. 42 laps to the worst there in that situation. But yeah, we've got 51 to go now. Andrew Wood, Joshua Chin, Jamie Wilson, Jan Dirks leading 4. I got to say, though, DJ, Andrew Woods, yes, he has that lap to his advantage in terms of the strategy. However, he spent all of this stint at the very front.
Yeah, he did, and that is going to cost him a lot of fuel, and I wonder if that's a little bit maybe of Team Chimera's strategy here of that they're all going to pit together on this last stint. Now, crucially here, this last pit window not going to be very wide. Remember, the maximum fuel distance that we've seen has been 45 laps by Andrew Wood, and that was aided by a yellow flag period. So let's anticipate here that we're going to be looking at about, let's call it 42, 43 laps for the longest running, and that could be something. But we've got a little bit of a battle on track. Ethan Hagan, Logan Simmons, Mike Grandy looking a little bit feisty.
Yeah, Mike Grandy getting himself back into things. Maybe he's found a little bit of pace, found the slipstream of those 2 cars ahead, and now he's able to try and press on forwards. Down the inside of Logan Simmons he goes, drives it down and in, and he might be able to get himself ahead of Logan Simmons as well. What a move there from Mike Grandy, and he's got it.
That was some gutsy stuff there from the number 12, and I don't think it's done yet as Ethan Hagan tries to look to the high side, trying to see if he can maybe copy that, do a little bit of a crossover there, and Logan Simmons looking very, very aggressive as well, trying to follow on the tire tracks there of the number 20. That's going to be Hagan diving down to try to get a little bit more of the draft, but look at Hagan just losing time to Grandy. Grandy looks like he's driving away there a little bit.
Yeah, it certainly does. That was an impressive move, and now an impressive pull away for Mike Grandy. We'll have to see what he's able to do in terms of making sure he doesn't get past back. Well, he doesn't get threatened with the slipstream here. But let's have a look from up above. I noticed Grandy drove it so hard into the corner. I mentioned it at the time, but I didn't expect him to get 2 spots in one here. Look at that.
I mean, that is a 2-for-1, and you can see I've actually got to put some of the credit there on that to Ethan Hagan for recognizing just how deep Grandy drove it into the corner and wanting out wide a little bit there as they go. But, yeah, certainly they're just gutsy stuff there from Grandy, not taking no for an answer.
Definitely not. Definitely not. And, well, he did feel a little bit of pressure earlier on from Stum and Shoemake trying to catch up to him, but now that is all alleviated as he's gotten himself up into 6th place within the space of, well, 2 spots in the space of 1 corner, basically, in that situation. So he's looking very, very good at the moment. We are coming towards the end of this stint, though. The second to last stint. Fuel and tyres, you would have thought, to the end on the cards. And, well, in about a lap or so, the window will be open.
Yeah, exactly. But I do anticipate these drivers trying to take this as long as they can towards the end as they go now trying to see what they can do. Ooh, I lied there. Ethan Agan going to be the first one to pull the trigger. Agan calling out over the radio that he's coming down into the pits. There
he is. Let's see if that's true. It's usually the sporting thing to do. If you call about going down the pits, you better do it. Otherwise, people will not like you. But there we go. Ethan Agan just about getting his car slowed down to the 90 kilometers an hour speed limit that we have here in the pit lane. And, well, let's see what the stops are going to be like for Ethan Agan and Logan Simmons. Of course, both of these drivers part of the same team. So let's see, see if this is a coordinated call or not. I would have thought it would have been.
As it looks like there that Simmons comes to rest nice in his pit box. Same with Ethan Agan, both up onto the jacks there, taking those fresh tires as they get ready to head back out of pit lane. Perfect synchronicity there as the two get going. Yeah, I've got to agree with you there that I think that is going to be a little bit of team orders there, getting the two out and in together.
Indeed, and they're going to come out at the exit of turn 2 in a little bit of clear air. There we go. Actually, a large amount. So a good stop for those guys. Meanwhile, this leading pack has kind of been joined by a couple of bits of lap traffic here. We've got, of course, Cameron Dance involved in that, but he's in a battle with Robert Grosser in behind. Of course, there's a bit of a difference in terms of the pit stop and the strategy between these two drivers, but a battle 2 laps down behind the battle for the race lead.
Yeah, and everybody kind of using each other's draft here to help one another out is really making this quite interesting. And it's going to be very, very fascinating to see what can happen. We cross over, by the way, on lap 40 of this stint. So the pit lane is certainly open here to go as they work their way around. As Mike Grandy going to be the latest coming down into pit lane is what we're hearing over the radio.
Oh, we're seeing Joshua Chin as well. Right in the middle of that Coanda sandwich. What does he? Well, I guess, yeah, he does come down in. But Andrew Woods decides to go out another lap. So once again, extending the stint here is Andrew Woods. Yes, he had the lap advantage coming down on the pit lane from last time by. But even running at the front, he still finds another lap to run.
Yeah, he's able to find another one there, so that has got to be a little bit scary, I think, if you're the rest of this field. Remember, Wood was able to make it work last time out. Let's see if he opts to do the same thing again here, if he's able to make it one more or potentially 2 more. Let's wait and see. Does Chin get to rest in his box? Yes, he does, and it looks like he is going to be just fine there. Andrew Wood, 2 laps.
Dirks doing another lap as well, and well, it's more understandable for Dirks though, because he's going to get the slipstream off of Wood to make the fuel economy on these final laps of the stint just that little bit better. But Woods, the fuel whisperer at the moment, being able to extend these stints out a little bit. Wilson, of course, and Chen coming down, and then they're going to potentially come out in a little bit of lap traffic as well, which is not ideal. Look at Chen sitting up behind another car.
Yeah, that's going to slow him down just a little bit. Wood, by the way, is down pit lane right here. He's going to have a little bit of traffic to deal with. Ooh, a lockup after the yellow line there. That could be a little bit of bad news for Andrew Wood. Let's hope he did not pick up a pit lane speeding penalty for that.
Well, we'll know in just a couple of moments' time if it's anything over around... Well, it starts ticking over around 11, 12 seconds, then potentially we will know. Oh, lock up! And he's just about got it in his pit box. That was pretty close there for Andrew Woods. Getting himself the fresher tires, the fuel going in as well. Did not get himself a pit lane speeding penalty. Battle with Jan Dirks coming off a pit lane. Wood beats him to it. Now, where do they come out in relation to Wilson?
Hey, let's see. Chin up to speed there. Wilson up to speed as well. This is going to be close as they come out, and it's going to be Chin, I think, by a couple of fractions here, but Wood certainly going to be able to push and stay in close behind.
That stop from Wilson as well. That extra time staying out hasn't really worked out in his favor, and now he sits about 1-ish seconds behind the leading trio. That is a very, very edge of the slipstream here for Jamie Wilson. That has not quite worked out the way he would have hoped it would, although still has a chance in these remaining 37 laps to get himself involved in the thick of things. But Chin with a fantastic stop, 10 seconds on the dot. Andrew Woods just that little bit slower on the pit lane by about 0.4 of a second. And Jan Dirks, third place, mixing it in here with the rest of the Chimera guys. He's having a fantastic race so far and definitely a contender for the race win now.
Yeah, definitely a contender, I would have to say. As we're going to have to see how these gaps kind of play themselves out here a little bit as they go. As it does look like Chin has about a half a second over Wood. Dirk's only about 0.3 of a second behind. So where do you start to push? Where do you start to really get that impetus to get up ahead? Is it 20 laps to go? Is it 10 laps to go? When do you try to close that gap down?
It's going to happen pretty naturally due to the slipstream, at least for the front three, although Wilson will have to push that a little bit harder to try and maintain the draft of the pack here. So still technically 4 cars in a shot of winning this one. Chin, Wood, Dirks and Wilson. However, Wilson definitely has the harder initial portion of this stint to try and keep himself in the fight.
Yeah, he certainly does, but we'll have to see here. Running that line, there is Andrew Wood trying to save his tires, potentially a little bit more. Excuse me, that is Wilson that we focus on right now. Wilson maybe trying to save the tires there a little bit more. This is Dirks, a little bit closer. Wilson's got to watch out here. He just dipped below a second behind Dirks, maybe turning this into a 3-car battle if he can't catch this back up here in the next couple of laps.
Yeah, he's got to be super, super careful. He's got to get maybe having to try and rely on a little bit of luck from the lap traffic as well to try and bridge the gap to these front 3. Because the longer this goes on, the more time that Wilson loses, his chances of taking a race win here today are going to dwindle down to 0. Now gap up to 1.1 seconds now. Wilson is dropping off the back of these guys. Maybe this is the master plan in terms of saving tires, but right now, it's doing nothing for his track position and getting himself at least safe with these 3.
Yeah, it's not helping him at all, and we haven't seen all that much tire wear. We've talked about it a little bit, but remember, really, we've only seen a couple of incidents later on in stints, so I think these drivers certainly have it together in terms of tire wear. Chin playing with a little bit of danger, though, dipping down onto the apron as Wood looks up to the outside there, and the track temperature has actually fallen by a degree Fahrenheit right now. It's at 83, so they're not really going to have to worry too much about overheating the tires. Ooh, but maybe that look there from Wood, is that going to be an opportunity for Jan Dirks? We've seen him be hungry before.
Yep, and he doesn't have. It's a completely different situation compared to the last stint as well. The opposite is true from what I said in his previous stint. Now he can press forward. Now he can get himself up into second or maybe even first, and he's definitely hungry for it this time. No more hanging around behind as Dirks looks high side.
Looks high side. I think he's going to try to cross that over there a little bit.
We had a bit of a smoke.
What was
there.
that?
We had a bit of tire smoke, brake smoke, whatever, out on the exit of 2. Not sure who it was, but it seems like they've cleared off.
All right, so everything good there. I can tell you Jamie Wilson, by the way, a full 1.6 seconds behind, so he has fully lost touch with these runners. But here comes Andrew Wood, looking to the high side here on Joshua Chin. Is this maybe a little bit of teammate tactics trying to prevent any attack from Jan Dirks along the outside, I wonder?
Could be, although Wood will also be wanting a race win to his name as well. No matter if it is his teammate, he has to try and get past to make it happen. He dives it down to the inside at turn 3. Dirks looking to try and follow through on his tire tracks. Leave Chin out to dry on the outside line there as Chin swings it all the way up. Andrew Wood to the race lead at the start-finish line, and Dirks looking to try and capitalize on that as well.
Yeah, Chin really holding back there. He's going to hold up to the high side as they go, and he's going to slot himself back down into line right now, and that's going to give him a good run, maybe a little bit of an attacking run. Yeah, Dirks indeed. He's going to dive down to the inside. Here they come down the front straight, down the back straightaway.
Chin getting himself back up into second place. Will Dirks dive back in line here? I think he will, as he tries to diamond off the corner a little bit, try and get a little speed and a little bit of the slipstream as well. Chin to driver's right-hand side in the clear air, not getting the slipstream off of his teammate here. Dirks closes up as a result, but this is a little bit of gamesmanship potentially between the three of these cars here at the moment. A little bit of teasing with the positions. And I gotta say, while they're doing this as well, they're still gaining time over Jamie Wilson behind. Wilson is completely fallen off of some form of cliff.
Yeah, I mean, you would have to think that Wilson would be able to close in a little bit more with these three squabbling the way that they have, but he has certainly not. Maybe Wilson playing a little bit too conservative of a strategy game here as they cross over with 27 laps to go. Again, Dirk's going to look up to that high side. Chin running in a, let's call it a little bit of a middle lane there. Dirks, is he going to look for a low line cut as they go onto the back straightaway? He's going to tuck up behind Joshua Chin as long as possible, and he's going to stay up to that high side.
Yeah, he's trying to cover off the line. Dirk's trying to get himself a little bit underneath now. He's found a little bit of a middle line to work with between the two cars where he can get himself a little bit of clear air. And now we can potentially try and charge forwards here towards the outside, down in towards turn number 1. Again, Chin just sort of positioning himself towards the middle of the circuit rather than down low behind his teammate. Dirks, again, just attempting to get these runs off the corners to try and get himself ahead.
And here they go, trying to see what he can do. Still just keeping in line, though, running that traditional line. Little bit of a crossover here as they ran through the corner. Not looking like he is going to be able to do it as there they go. But Dirks keeping up nice and close behind. Not looking like he is going to go for anything. Favors that high line. Favoring up on the high line as they go.
He does, and that seems to have been characteristic throughout the last couple of stints at least. And, well, Woods still leading with all of this going on behind him at the moment. It's quite a sight to behold. And again, it is just these three at the very front. Jamie Wilson continuing to drop further and further behind as you see Dirks get himself to the inside. He's got himself a run over Wood as well. He'll have to back out of that. No line available towards the insides there. Chin with the ultra outside line to try and do something about getting this back on Dirks.
Yeah, just trying to be able to get that fight back here as they go. Chin going to be holding in line. Dirks, again, loving that outside line. Now it's going to be Chin that follows up a little bit more as they go. He's going to hold the outside line here as they're going to come to the line with 23 laps to go. Chin lost a little bit of time there. Was that a little bit of a lift from Chin? Maybe not wanting to go full bore here at this point.
Yeah, potentially. There might be some, still some remaining fuel worries a little bit. He was the shortest stop stationary of the entire leading group, 10 seconds on the dot compared to Dirks' 11 and Woods 10.4. So just making sure that he can get himself towards the end here without too many worries, but Dirks looking high on the race leader already. He's definitely applying as much pressure as possible as they head their way towards the start-finish line with a whole bunch of slipstream down in towards turn number 1. Lap traffic as well. With leaders potentially 2, sometimes even 3 wide, having a lapped car involved in the mix, a recipe for trouble.
Yeah, exactly. Not exactly the easiest thing to have to deal with, as that is going to be Art McEwen. Now, I will say they have passed Art several times here on this lap, Art, as he's kind of gone back and forth here. He's currently 3 laps down, and he has been an absolute consummate gentleman in letting these other drivers pass, and indeed it looks like that's exactly what Art's going to do there today, although running a little bit side by side with Joshua Chin. It's not going to slow down Josh, though, as they work their way through the corner. Whoa, that got a little hairy.
Yeah, but just Chin pushing up almost right up against the wall there. We'll try and get the run off the top of the corner here, but that's not massively effective here at Auto Club than it would be at maybe some other circuits, maybe some other shorter circuits than this one. But Chin, again, doesn't have to worry about losing the slipstream at this point. Still very firmly within that of the front 2, coming up towards 20 to go now.
20 to go. These drivers certainly know that it's coming on push time here as they continue to work. Jan Dirks looking on that outside line. Is he going to have a little bit of a look to the inside? No. He's going to have a little bit of a look to the outside? No. He is going to stick right in line there, trying to take as much draft as possible.
Outside once again for the number 45 with the 93 in tow. Gonna try and look a little bit lower through the apex of the corner, try and get the speed off. This seems to be the overall strategy for Dirks, taking that big wide arc through, although Wood has defended this one rather well at this stage. He's positioning that Chimera car in all of the right places. They fan all the way out, coming through 1 and 2, and Dirks on the bottom there will still have space to wash up in towards across the nose of Joshua Chin there. But it's very interesting to see all of the different lines these drivers are attempting.
Yeah, they're really feeling out everything they can here in the final moments, and I wonder if there's a little bit of just trying to play ahead here and think about where to go. But here comes Dirks looking on the outside. That's going to be the first time we've really seen him run side by side with Andrew Wood. Doesn't give him a big pinch down into the corner, and indeed that may open up a little bit of an opportunity here for Joshua Chin to be able to get something on Jan Dirks as Dirks stays up on the high line.
Yeah, this just absolutely committing to that high side at the moment. Going to dive back in with the slipstream as well. Coming off the corner will help him make another attempt into turn number 1. But this is all absolutely fantastic in amongst all these drivers at the moment. Great amount of racecraft being displayed as well. 17 more laps potentially of this to go. Definitely one that gives your heart rate a little bit of an exercise here. And, well, still 2.4 seconds ahead of Jamie Wilson, so they don't have to worry about him whatsoever. It's just 3 drivers, potentially 3 drivers, getting having to decide this amongst themselves for the race win, but there's always that looming threat of another yellow flag.
Yes, there is, but we've stayed clean and green here for the better part of 100 laps. Knock on wood if you've got it there to be able to hold on to, as we want to see this end under green and end well. We don't have a green-white checker situation here in IndyCar, as Chin looks like he's got a nice heaping of the draft behind Dirks. Let's see if Dirks stays high. Chin's going to follow right behind him there as they come down into the corner. Waiting to see if Chin's maybe going to look down to the inside. No, he's not. He's going to keep things nice and high, nice and close behind as they run 1, 2, 3.
Another attempt to the long way around for Jan Dirks. Chin trying to follow through on his tire tracks at the moment. He's going to try and potentially dip down a little lower to get the drive off, but let's see. Again, this has been in a bit of a stalemate for the last couple of laps here. Chin does get himself underneath Dirks here, gets himself up into second place, or back up into second place, shall I say. Dirks will have a response off of the corner here. How does Chin deal with that?
Let's see indeed as Dirks. Oh, Chin knows what he wants to do. Chin gonna block that high side. Look at how wide all these drivers are taking the entry into the corner. Nobody wanting to scrub speed, holding down to that inside. Dirks, though, looks like he's got a pretty good run off of the corner. Not sure if he's gonna be close enough to be able to get anything to play, though. They do have to be a little bit careful. Hannes Pikkinen is going to be right up ahead of them to the tune of about 2.5 seconds up the road. So that's something they're gonna have to worry about probably before the drop of the checkered flag.
Here we go. Here's another run for Chin, though. He's going to get himself alongside his teammate for the race lead. Dirks tempted to try and get himself towards the middle there, but that lane was never going to be available, especially with the speed that he had coming through there. Coming off of turn number 2 now, Chin still finding that outside of his teammates, really giving it a good go here with 12.5 laps left to go. He leads by half a car length into 3.
Leads by half a car length. Chin trying to hold that outside lane, doing it well. Is he going to be thinking about a little bit of a move here? Anytime we've seen some of these drivers get nearly side by side, that has been the moment where they try to push ahead. And I've got to think here that Chin is tired of waiting around. 12 laps to go as they cross over the stripe. Chin going to be thinking on that high side. A little bit of a drift up there from Wood. Is this the crossover for Chin? But Wood blocks the inside.
Yep. These Chimera teammates definitely going up against each other. No team orders at this stage in the race, let me tell you that. As you see Chin again, just that lane up from where his teammate resides. Dirks trying to pick a line, who to follow through in this particular battle as well. Oh, they get so close across the line to the two Chimera cars. Oh, that could have ended in tears, and he gets closer again through turn 1.
And I think that may have been just a little bit of contact there as Chin working way up on the track. Is that going to give the position over to Jan Dirks? Yes, it is, it looks like. But Chin not lifting out of it. He is going to try to keep on that high side and roll that momentum as much as possible as they now fly towards the line to take 10 laps to go. Dirks on by, up into P2. Chin going to be getting a big helping of the draft here to try to propel his way back up forward.
If you need more evidence that the two Chimera guys are not working together anymore, that was pretty much it. It was almost Robbins racing in IndyCars. You can only do that a tiny amount in here in these. But here we go, down towards the inside of the Jan Dirks goes Joshua Chin once again. And now Andrew Wood trying to make a decision about who to give the draft to at this stage. Of course, he's going to prioritize his teammate, but also prioritize the car that's further behind to try and continue on this battle going on behind him.
Yeah, he certainly is, not wanting to give anything up as he's going to close in behind there. Dirks trying to run that high lane, but the draft going to be helping out Joshua Chin down on that low lane. Andrew Wood hovering there in what looks to be the middle lane. Chin keeping a little bit lower on the track. He's going to pick up a little bit of the aero wash, flirting with the entry on the apron there. He's got to be careful about that, but he is able to carry good speed off of the corner. Not going to be enough, I think, to pull him up alongside his teammate, but certainly enough to threaten.
These last 9 laps are going to be absolutely electric here, DJ. 3 drivers. They've already displayed a fantastic amount of close racing in the last 10, 15 laps, but these are the ones that matter now. 8 to go, coming across the line, fanning out once again in towards turn number 1. It has chopped and changed between all 3 of them. They can come across the line with the checkered flag in any configuration.
Yeah, they very well could. It's just a matter of what's going to happen, and I've got to be a little bit concerned here because Jan Dirks looks like he's fallen off the back just a little bit. Now, that could be him timing the run. Chin thought about a look down to the inside there on Andrew Wood, but thought better of it. He's going to tuck back into line as they cross over the stripe there to take 7 to go. Chin now looks to the high side here on Andrew Wood. Little bit, the slightest bit of a pinch, and look at how Dirks has now been able to close back in on this battle. They're going to be side by side between Chin and Dirks as they come up over, and now it's going to be Wood blocking off Dirks' momentum as they dive into 2, coming up closer and closer behind Hannes Buttkicker.
They got a little bit of lap traffic in Buttkicker that's potentially going to factor into this one. Oh, this changes things very, very slightly. 6 to go as they head their way across the line. The positions between these 3 haven't exactly changed over the last couple of laps, but they can all change in these final few. As there goes Chen, ultra high side. Dirks following him in the middle lane here. He'll go and try and get the slipstream from Wood as your race leader, as Wood is all over the shop.
Wood moving this way, moving that way, just trying to, I think, split the draft up between the 2 drivers that are chasing him down. As there, it looks like Dirks has been able to get the move done on Joshua Chin. Chin going to have to try to make the move here. He's going to drift up to the high side as they cross over the stripe with 5 laps to go. What can Chin do? Looks like Dirks is able to block the momentum there as they dive down into 1. Dirks holding down on that low side, a little bit of a lane lower than Andrew Wood as they go. Not going to be able to roll as much momentum there. Wood looks pretty comfortable up front for the moment.
Indeed he does. He's run this defensive race, or rather defensive last 20 laps to a very, very high standard though. This is coming towards the end of the stint though. That's when the tyres are coming towards the end of their lives and maybe can't hang on to that bottom line as effectively as they used to as well. So you got that to consider as Chin down towards the white line, right behind his teammate. He's going to get a little bit of push from that, though. As you can see, Dirks, he gets the run off the top.
Gets the run off the top and gets that draft from Andrew Wood. Now he's going to look to the high line, and the draft is going to switch back here to favoring Joshua Chin down on that low lane as he works his way through the corner, but he's got to be careful to make sure that car's not going to wash up. We take a look from overhead here as they go. Look at that, running in a perfect little triangle as we come across the stripe with 3 laps to go here at Fontana. Chin looking for the low line. Dirks looking for the high line. Wood defending for his life.
Chin in second place now. Woods, he's done a fantastic job holding on to this race lead under an immense amount of pressure. The attacks have been relentless onto the back of his rear wing, but he has to do it for now. Another 2.
Another 2 laps here for Andrew Wood. Dirk's going to take the look to the outside here as Barney the Flagman gives that 2 lap to go mark. Chin going to be stuck in behind his teammate as Dirks tries to roll that momentum here to maybe get a second or even a first away from your leader, Andrew Wood. Another little spray up of brake dust there. Not entirely sure what that was, but they run 1, 2, 3 here as they dive into turn 3 and 4 for the penultimate time. Trying to see what is going to shake out here. Jan Dirks looking down Joshua Chin, hugging the white line as much as possible. Here they come. White flag in the air from Barney the Flagman. It all comes down to this at Fontana. Chin gonna take the aggressive move down to the inside here. Gonna try to take that line away from Wood. That is gonna be Wood forced up the track here a little bit more. Can Dirks respond? We ride on board with the 45, having to avoid contact. That's gonna be Wood trying to roll as much speed as possible up to the high side. Dirks may be boxed in here just a little bit. The Team Chimera teammates running that to perfection. I don't think Dirks is going to have a chance here. The only one who really is going to be Andrew Wood. As they come to the line, Joshua Chin is going to have a nose ahead, but is momentum going to favor Andrew Wood at the line by 0.006 of a second? It's Andrew Wood!
Oh my word! What a finish amongst all 3 drivers, but to have it decided by 0.006, that's insane.
Goodness gracious, and look at that, only 1/10 of a second separating your top 3, Connery. It doesn't get better than that for classic IndyCar action.
It doesn't. You're absolutely right. Wood, he's going to come across the line here. He will take his well-deserved celebrations. That was one of the best, if not the best, defensive drives I've ever seen in this series. And Wood, well, he'll be seeing that as one of his best race wins, I would have thought as well.
I have to agree with you there on all counts. That was remarkable from Andrew Wood. He knew exactly where to position his car to prevent any attack coming onto him there. Joshua Chin, his teammate, finishing second, giving him a little bit of a love tap there. Good respect among teammates.
Indeed, and well, here's the view of the final lap amongst all the drivers here. Again, you know, toss a coin, well, a 3-sided coin, I guess, in this situation to see who's going to take the race win here today. But Wood, that was an incredible defensive drive against all odds, because Chin had the advantage there at the very end. He had the inside line, he had the track position, but just a slightly better run from the high side from Andrew Wood allowed him to take this race win by the skin of his teeth.
Yeah, just barely knew he could roll that momentum there on the high side, and that's a little bit of that battle that we were talking about between the shortest point from A to B and rolling that momentum. There you could see it at the stripe, blink and you'll miss it how close they were.
Yeah, it was incredible, and we will be able to see it from up above as well. Unfortunately, I don't have my controller connected to zoom it in here, but let's have a look as they head their way towards that start-finish line. We might as well do it the old school way here. This is the run. Andrew Wood on the outside in the green Chimera, well, the green trimmed Chimera machine. Let's see how close this was.
You could just see that speed building, and here they come to the stripe. I mean, my goodness gracious, that is barely a nose width. Look at this, here they come, boom. Oh my goodness.
Definitely one of the closest finishes in classic IndyCar series history. 0.006 of a second between Andrew Wood and Joshua Chin. What an incredible performance. You know, not just from Andrew Wood, but for Chin, for Dirks as well, in there, getting involved in the thick of things. Definitely needs to have a lot of credit for making that finish happen the way it did. But for now, we will just have to take a moment here, DJ, and go over our finishing results from this brilliant 200-lap race.
Indeed, we will, as it was Andrew Wood able to take that victory by 6 thousandths of a second over Joshua Chin and Jan Dirks. Jamie Wilson, that third Team Chimera driver, not entirely able to hold in on the back there. He ended up finishing about 2 seconds back. Andrew Aitken, your pole sitter, rounds out your top 5 here today, followed by Mike Grandy. It was Agan who was your pole sitter for Iconic Motorsports. He could only manage a 7th place. Randy Shoemake, good drive up through the field there for Shoemake, finished 8th, followed by Franz Josef Stum and Hannes Pitkanen, the last driver to finish on the lead lap there in 10th. In 11th, it was Logan Simmons, followed by Andrew Adair Saunders, and then Marshall Stanley, the last driver to finish 1 lap down. Cam Dance was 2 laps down, followed by Robert Grosfer and Jan Hoffman, and then it was Art McEwen 4 laps down, and then we unfortunately get into some of the drivers who were not able to see the end of the race. Stefan Rossman, Robert Barnknow, Sebastian Kinder there as well, Vessi Yaliolila, and Tristan Hauser, Jonathan Diggs, and Joshua Tucker, a DNS for the day. So that is your order there for them. And that is going to bring all of them to the 4. Absolutely incredible stuff. A great race here from Fontana.
Yeah, it has been absolutely incredible. Definitely one of the better ones of this season. It was entertainment from pretty much start to finish. We had a couple of cautions thrown in there as well, of course, but again, it all culminated in that absolutely fantastic race win. DJ, it's been awesome.
It certainly has. One of the best here on the day, and that is indeed going to lead us right into some of our podium interviews for the day. And it looks like here that we are still waiting on our winner, but we are going to go ahead and talk to our 2nd place finisher here, Josh Chin. And Josh, talk me through those last couple of laps. That looked like sheer insanity.
Yeah, really just trying to hold on and get points and still get a decent finish but not get wrecked. And Jan raced well with me and Andrew, and thankfully was able to get a 2nd place out of it, almost got the win out of it. Overall, just a good solid points day and kind of exactly what I needed with 2 races left.
Well, thinking about that run to the line there, I mean, did you want to be on the high side? Did you want to be on the low side? Where did you want to position your car coming through, and how much were you thinking that through on those last 20 laps or so to go?
Ultimately, I wanted to be on the inside, just be able to control. The outside wasn't really able to get as much of a run, but I had a little bit of slip out of 4. It was just the tiniest little bit once I got past the bump, and it kind of sucked all the momentum out of the car. And that's what let Andrew get that run and get back by me there.
Well, changing gears a little bit and looking ahead, we head to the Indy road course next time out. Obviously, looking ahead to the 500-mile race at the end of the year, going to be fantastic. But Indy Road, always known for being a little bit of difficult circumstances at points, particularly the Mickey Mouse section. What's your strategy going in there? How are you hoping to be able to handle it?
Well, I think it'll race a little bit better this time around, considering we don't have that section that's been replaced with the chicane, so that'll help a lot. And that final chicane into the oval kind of helps, not necessarily spread it out, but kind of make it more dependent on the driver. You don't have people with 10-mile-an-hour draft runs going down the front stretch, so I think that'll kind of play in our hand a little bit. And overall, it's just been it's been solid on road courses all year for us, so I think that'll help quite a bit.
Well, Josh is 2nd place here today. A great run, certainly kept us entertained. Who makes this possible for you?
Everyone at Team Talent, Team Chimera, Andrew and Jamie both did a great job giving feedback on the car this week. Made some last-minute changes that really helped. Maybe 2 hours of work this week, but it was 2 hours of meaningful work and got the car in a good direction. And qualifying went better for us than last time around, so we knew we had a good race car, and it was a good sign from there. And we'll just keep the momentum rolling, hopefully.
We'll keep it rolling indeed. Josh, good luck as we turn our eyes to Indy, and we'll see you on the track.
Yep, thank you, guys.
All right, that was Josh Chin, your second place finisher here today. A great run there for him. He has got to be very, very pleased with that. And it looks like we've also been able to catch up with our winner here today. And Andrew, my goodness gracious, talk me through that last lap.
I was pretty sure I had the race lost after turn 2 because I knew Chin was going to want to take the low line. I was struggling down there, so I figured he'd have no drive off. And then when I went to try and do the cut under, Dirks was there, and I got boxed up at the top. So I knew my only chance, my slim chance of getting the victory was riding around the outside of 3 and 4 and hoping that Chin was bound up down there. And that's exactly what happened. I just had enough speed to come to the line to beat him. So I'm just as shocked as everyone else is, really.
Well, shocked, but able to take a victory here and absolutely fantastic. And I heard you kind of talking about on the radio afterwards about before they change Fontana. And I'm just curious your thoughts on this big D oval, how you liked running it.
Well, there's a little bit of a personal twist to it for me also because I do some go-kart racing out there. There's a kart track that sits right outside turn 4, and I go out there several times a year to compete in some events. And we just learned last week that the kart track, as well as everything else in that complex, is going to be demolished. So I was under the impression that the kart track was going to stay. Everybody that works there told me that they weren't going to be touched because all the stuff that they're doing is east of the kart track. So basically the whole big circuit, the autocross circuit east of turn 1, and the drag strip north of the back straightaway. So I just found out earlier this week that the entire complex is shutting down December 4th. So it's kind of a bummer that track that I've competed and won many races at is kind of going away. So yeah, it kind of adds a little bit of extra smile on my face that I was somehow able to pull out a win in the sim world here. So my very first classic IndyCar series win. I've done over 40 races and been kind of close a few times, but I finally managed to pull it off. So this means a lot to me. It really does.
I love hearing that, and I love hearing that you've got that personal connection. And as somebody who's been to this track several times, I have to tell you, I am just as equally disheartened. I think that they're tearing it down because I love this gem out in the IE. But as we look ahead here, Indy Road next time out, we heard Josh talk about how he thinks it's going to be a little bit of a change with the newer layout here on the surface. How do you think it's going to go?
I've only tested it once or twice, so it does feel a little bit different. I have no idea how these cars are going to react on the new track, but I'm sure any way you slice it, we're going to have some good racing coming up in the Classic IndyCar Series here. So, yeah, we'll have to see what's on top. This is I can already call my shot that this is a Josh Chin specialty. He loves the Road Indy GP, so don't count him out for just showing up and doing what Josh Chin does. So
well, we certainly won't, but let's not worry about tomorrow. Let's worry about today. Andrew, your first victory here in Classic IndyCar Series on a bit of a home track. Who makes this possible?
Yeah, my two teammates, Jamie Wilson, Josh Chin, a lot of support all through the race. We managed to find each other and do a lot better than we had predicted. We kind of thought we were in the window, but just the three of us working very hard, trying all sorts of different things to make sure that we can do the best we can. So those two guys for sure. Robert, Lucas, all the Classic IndyCar guys, everyone that showed up here today to compete as well. And yeah, this season's been probably one of my worst up until now. I've had a lot of pretty bad wrecks and a lot of low points. So I just want to thank everybody that's supported me and has cheered me on along the way for keeping up and keeping watch on me.
Well, thank you, Andrew, and let us add our voices to the congratulations. This was a fantastic win, and we were hooting and hollering up here and cheering you on. It was a great victory to see.
Yeah, thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
All right, that was your winner, Andrew Wood. And Connery, looks like we've got a couple other drivers here waiting to be interviewed. And who are you caught up with?
We'll go potentially for the driver that finished the highest of all of the rest of them, and that will be Ethan Agan, I believe. As we'll drag Ethan into the booth here. Ethan, It looked like a pretty good race for you, at least in the first half of the race. Although you did kind of fall off the back of the leading pack once all is said and done. Just take me through your experiences of the event today.
Yeah, it was going well, like for the like stint and a half there, but the after that second stint, the track temps just went up dramatically, and it just didn't handle the setup of my car that well. But I guess that's what happens when we do a cold setup or just stuff like that. But all in all, it was a good race. I just wish we could have just finished up higher.
Yeah, it did seem like the iconic motorsports cars, at least in the opening stages, were relatively quick and were able to keep up with the likes of Chimera at the very front. But how would you summarize this result really? Because of course it's not fantastic, but it's also not terrible either. Is that the attitude you're taking towards it as well?
Yeah, it's like you said, it's like it's good but not terrible. But it's bad because I didn't capitalize on beating Chin for getting more points to him. But it's just how racing goes, I guess. But we'll learn from here and just go to the Indy Road Course and go win there.
Yeah, I was about to ask you about that. Indy Roads, how's it treating you? Have you been able to put some laps in yet, or are you gonna be able to do that maybe in the coming days?
I've not tested it yet. I mean, I haven't really done much practice on anything at that road course, but road course have been my strong suit. It would definitely be a challenge at first since I've never really done any laps in an IndyCar there, but you never know what could happen. Hoping it could go well.
Yeah, hoping it can go well for you as well, Ethan. Good job on the 7th place. I know you felt like it could have been a bit more, but at least you have another top 10 under your belt, and good luck at Indy Road.
Thank you.
That was Ethan Egan there, finishing 7th place here today, DJ.
Indeed, and we've got one more interview here before we have to head on out, and that is with our featured driver of the day, Robert Grosser. Coming home 15th there, fell down a little bit from your starting position, but how was it for you around this high-speed oval?
Yeah, I guess I couldn't cope with the pressure of being the featured driver. No, yeah, what to say? I mean, we had a decent car to run there in the pack, where we were the second group behind the leaders group. That was actually fine. I mean, I could not attack them non-stop or anything, but I could nicely run with them, and we were trading positions and all. And then the first green flag pit stop happened. And there, actually, my lack of practice showed its ugly face, because I had the brake bias adjusted in a wrong way, not to my liking. So to my big surprise, when I broke for the yellow cones, the rear of the car decided to overtake the front. And on top of the scratch to my ego, I also got a 40-second speeding penalty, and that was like race over from there.
I've been the unfortunate victim of those penalties before, so I very much feel your pain. But talk to me a little bit. You and a couple of your teammates looked like you guys tried to go for a little bit of the alternate strategy there, staying out after that caution. Talk to me about the decision making behind that, and if obviously didn't work out, but just kind of the conversation behind the scenes.
Yeah, that was pretty, easy, or like a desperate move. We, of course, Jan also had this mishap in pit lane. He also spun, and so we were both laps down, and the only idea was not to pit and get the lap back. And then hoping, I mean, we had only after the restart fuel for another like 10, maximum 15 laps, because we were pretty empty already, but we were just hoping that maybe another caution comes and then we can pit under yellow. But the second caution never happened, which is great in one way, but for us today it was like the worst case scenario. We had not the speed to catch up, and from there onwards our race was doomed.
Well, looking ahead here a little bit, we've been asking everybody else, how are you feeling about the updated Indy road course? Obviously, these cars never necessarily saw the road course itself. We were running the DW12s by the time that the Indy GP started up, but going to be a good challenge there, and sounds like there's a lot of excitement coming into it.
I'm looking forward to it. I have not yet tried it out, so it will be like a new experience. I have to say I like the old layout, this very long, flat out area there through the banked Indy Turn 1. I really like that one, but I'm looking forward to have this new challenge here. I like Indy road course. So I'm definitely looking forward to that race. The setup will look different though, because this long, flat out thing is not there.
Yeah, it'll certainly be a little bit different, and I'm eagerly looking forward to it, Robert. But as for today, who makes this happen for you? Who would you like to thank?
Yeah, I have to thank to my fellow teammates. Lucas obviously was not here this week, but Marshall and Jan were preparing the car for us. So big shout out to them. As I said already, at minimum practice time, and also big shout out to our sponsors for the series, Buttkicker, and then we had MTK Manufacturing for this round here. Thanks to them, and thanks to the whole CIS crowd for bringing up a very clean and very interesting race here today.
Well, thank you for being able to put it on here, and congratulations on a 15th. We'll see you at Indy, Robert.
Thanks, guys.
All right, that was Robert Grosser, your featured driver for the day, finishing 15th in the pack. And that, unfortunately, is about going to wrap things up for our coverage here on RaceSpotTV. But join us back here, as we said, October 2nd, round 9 at the Indy Road Course, the newly revamped Indy Road Course. That is going to be a fantastic race to be able to see get into action. But it has been an absolute pleasure bringing you the action here today. And on behalf of myself and my commentary partner, as well as our director and producer, Connery Maddock, we would like to thank you for joining us here today. And until we see you on the track, thanks for watching.